Okay. Oh, what's up? Sorry, I had to eat my food. Oh, dude, I've been live for so long. That's hype. Do you guys think I accidentally turned my stream on? I normally don't stream this late either. But I felt passionate to give some spicy hot takes. If anything, I threw on the new Midnight album, which I have not heard in its entirety, so that's what's happening right now. Drink to the memory of weak auras. At least for today, this is maybe getting ahead of my entire spiel here, but my guess is today is good that today happened because I think it was made clear to everyone, including me, who, by the way, like, me and Drados interviewed Ian about this whole thing, and clear everything they told us about like how long it would take to like actually roll this stuff back was like clearly like they're going way faster. It is only alpha, but what I think is going to happen, what I hope happens. So maybe this is hoping, but I also think this will happen. I think they are going to walk some stuff back. Like, I don't, like, for example, I don't know if it's their intention for, like, it to be so fucked that Weak Auras isn't even going to bother making an add-on. Like, I don't think, like, there, so just for clarity, like, a lot of what is wrong with add-ons exists within Weak Auras, but, like, 95% of Weak Auras are not that problem and are fucking amazing. So, like, the fact that, like, all of that's gone is, well, gone as of right now. Like I said, I don't think those people want it to be gone. From what I saw from their description of, like, you can't even make any conditionals or actions or whatever, like, that is cooked. Like, it's cooked. That is, it totally makes sense why they would not develop the add-on. My guess is I think they're going to walk some of that back because the reaction today has been pretty strong. I'm sure they saw it. I know they already posted some walk back, but I think, you know, we'll read that too. I read it on my phone earlier, so I didn't see all of it entirely, but people spent so long demanding for this to happen without thinking that they would take away things they wanted to remain, and we're seeing the fallout of that. Yeah, but that's kind of fair, because, okay, isn't that what they said, though? I could be wrong. Maybe, you tell me if I'm wrong, I could be wrong. But I'm pretty sure they were like, they've repeatedly said in interviews, like, this is the stuff we're breaking, and this is the stuff we don't want to break. And they're literally listing all the things they don't want to break, and then those things are broken. Do you know what I mean? So, like, I feel like it's not people being naive. I think they were literally misled. They are doing something other than what they said. I didn't mind them getting rid of add-ons, but I didn't want my class to get lobotomized. Yeah, isn't it crazy that after all the, like, reaction today, people have forgotten, not forgotten, but, like, the other major issue of, like, the simplification of the game is, like, completely secondary to the fact that obviously the add-on situation, they're going way more scorched earth than I think anyone anticipated. That being said, I imagine they probably have to go more scorched earth and then walk it back rather than the opposite. Like, every new week, one more thing doesn't work, you know? And I have seen some people, like, getting on people for complaining or whatever. Like, as much as it can be annoying to just constantly see dooming and stuff, it is what it is. But a lot of it isn't dooming. It's people being genuinely concerned. Like, there are people that play this game, that this is their favorite game to play. You either play it all season or you log in every season and play for a little bit and then stop, but you fucking love this game. If you do that, you love this game, by the way, even if you hate this company and this game. It turns out you actually love it. I don't know if you figured that out yet. But there are people who love this game that think the combination of their add-ons that they have configured for a long time to have the game be better for them, by the way, that's the point, especially the customization stuff, and their class potentially, not saying this will happen, but like their class might feel less fun to play for them, and they're wondering if the game isn't going to be as fun for them anymore. That is a genuine concern, right? That's not someone complaining into the void, just shouting out random shit. That's someone saying, like, I don't want this game to not be for me anymore because I like this game. And I feel like these changes they're making are scary, and I don't know if I want them to do it. It's completely valid. But yeah, it's crazy. Honestly, this is so polarizing. It's crazy. Max, do you think WoW classes are closer to fellowships with the simplification? Like closer as in, do you mean like they're now closer to fellowship than what WoW was in the current expansion we're in? I mean, WoW classes objectively became more simple, and fellowship is a extremely simple version of WoW. So is it closer to that? The answer to that's obviously yes, but you wouldn't have asked me that question because that much is obvious, so you must be asking for a different reason. Let me see. I don't think it's like closer. I think you meant the other one maybe, because that one's like this a non-question. I think Fellowship will be fun, but I also think it's like super overhyped. I don't think like people are like that game's gonna kill WoW. I just don't even. That's not even what it's trying to do. I think what Fellowship will be is like a nice mid-season, which they'll never release it at the beginning of a season because that just wouldn't be good for anyone, and especially them. But like a nice little mid-season grind Fellowship for 2 weeks kind of situation, rather than like a main game thing. But like that is awesome. That sounds like really fun. I'm going to do that personally. That sounds like really fucking fun. It'll be like what PoE and Diablo, like ARPG seasons coming out mid-WoW season is for a lot of you. I think it'll scratch a different itch, but a similar like time frame. Do you think that the raid leader role will become much more hectic without automated timers and weak auras? Well, so we don't know exactly which stuff will still work. Like, for example, I believe right now the reminder system that I believe that is fully functional. Again, I personally don't make stuff like that, but I have read that like that will still be possible to do in game. I don't know if it'll have to be like adjusted or something, but like something like that will still exist, which that is a major like, I guess to answer your question, like raid leader related stuff, that will definitely make it not too big of a change. But I would say first impression of this raid leading specific is I think just your raid leader becomes more important with less reliance on add-ons and stuff. There's just more mechanics that will happen where you have someone calling for people to do things rather than a weak aura handling it for you. I don't know how many mechanics are going to be like that. I think they might try to avoid mechanics like that, but that's a pretty fundamental WoW mechanic. It might happen at some point, and then like that will be something you have to deal with. Probably not going to be as extreme as what you've seen with like assignmentship, but yeah. Max, will the add-on removal hit the Race to World Last? Oh, interesting, because the Race to World Last happens after pre-patch comes out, right? If that's true, it definitely will, right? Well, I don't know. I feel like the last boss, I feel like this boss specifically, especially that late, I don't, like, what weak auras are you even really using? Especially, I would say the answer is yes, just for like UI stuff. Like people are just gonna have to adjust their UIs, so maybe that will hurt their gameplay a little bit for sure as they take time to get used to it. Yeah, like different raid frames and shit, yeah. Max, Dratnos was saying the devs could break reminders By adding spell queuing or variable delays. Oh my god, please do not do that. But would that make the race more or less fun for you specifically? So I think maybe what you're trying to get me to say is, like, I've said before that Stone Legion was actually really fun for me specifically because I, like, memorized and figured out what exactly was going to happen in what order if, like, 5 abilities were queued at the same time with the RNG of that fight, and you could, like, basically accurately call out what was going to happen rather than everyone just having to guess. But I think that is wholly bad for the game, though. I don't know about me specifically, like, whether I'd enjoy that. I would say probably not even. Like, that would be variable spell casting and stuff is that'd be really bad. The major issue with like bosses in PvE being like random or having like logic to like when they cast shit, so like not like a scripted fight, it's just like random, is that it's hard to create a good fight because like every pull, some pulls will be super hard, some pulls will be super easy. It's not consistent. And by creating a scripted fight, it's not like a difficulty thing. Like, it's, you can make a scripted fight that's like basically impossible, right? So it's not like you're sacrificing any difficulty by having it be that way. But what it is that way is it's reliable to progress. Problem solving is possible, and then it's not like truly random bosses would be so bad. Even if it was like sometimes this thing casts and sometimes this casts, like that is so problematic because you're just not even at the mercy of your own skill as far as getting better to fight. You're just waiting for a pull where the boss is easier. That's how Stone Legion was. It was really bad. Do you think we will have a longer pre-patch cycle to compensate for these changes? I have no idea. PvE tuning ruined PvP. Oh, I'm not really too familiar about PvP, but maybe that happened. I feel like a ton of these changes just narrowed the skill floor and skill ceiling of the game to almost the same level. That's not true. That is a well, okay, the first thing you said is accurate, where like the difference between the skill floor and the skill ceiling is definitely smaller than it was kind of across the board. Some specs way more than others. But the whole where they're almost at the same thing is like it's just as an insane statement. We're going to find out real quick how many 3K and up folks are carried by weak auras. I mean, weak auras generally... I mean, what you're going to see is like it's like a curve, kind of, right? So, like, how much weak... I'm gonna try to draw something. This is probably going to be extremely, like, wrong, and I might take a couple tries at this, but, like... Alright. So, like... How much weak auras help you? Like, this down here is like player skill level, and up here is how much weak auras help you. It's almost exactly like some kind of curve, like, right, something like that. Like the better you are, the less reliant you are on them as far as carried, like how much lifting it's doing to make you better. And then at a certain point, they're just great for everybody, right? It doesn't just go down to zero. There's no one that's like so good that weak auras couldn't help them. That's wrong. But so like if you're basically saying how many people are 3K right now in WoW, it's something like this. So if they remove weak auras in general, you know, how many people over here, like how many of these people right here are like, how different will they be? Yeah, maybe. I mean, you'll probably see it. There's been times like this in the game. This is actually really specific, but I want to know if you guys experience this. So throughout all of Shadowlands, except for the first tier, you played like BM Hunter, and you were Night Fae, and you, or like specifically Sepulchre Farm, or no, was it end of BFA? No, it was the end of Shadowlands. So all through Shadowlands, you're doing Sepulchre Farm as BM, and you're Night Fae with a cheat death. So you were seeing your Hunter players play a Soul Shape class, so you have better mobility, you have a literal cheat death, and you're playing an easier spec. And then at the beginning of the next expansion, they were playing Marks, and then you were seeing people that you had played with for 2 years play a new spec and not have cheat death and Soul Shape at the same time. And this is, again, kind of niche, but maybe you guys had a different opinion of them as a player after you saw them with those like crutches stripped away, right? Weak auras are the same thing. They're a crutch. You could be playing with someone that you think is awesome, and maybe they will still be awesome because everyone relatively is losing this thing, but also maybe you might be like, okay, wow, they're actually making like quite a bit more mistakes now or something. You're thinking of N'Zoth and Nathria? No, I'm pretty sure oh yeah, survival. Yeah, they did play Survival Din of Shadowlands. There's some shit like that, though. You get the point. If the floor and ceiling are moving closer together, will it be easier to recruit top-end players? I don't think so. At least currently with what the game looks like. I was playing Windwalker. Like, it feels pretty much like Windwalker's always felt. I don't think it's going to be much easier to recruit the very, very best players because, like, the level of gamer you have to be is just, like, there's not that many people that are that good that play WoW, so you're just kind of waiting on finding those people. I think it will be easier for people to be, like, upper above average, relatively, if that is true, but, like, the very, very high end is still, like, there's only so many spots in these guilds, and there's people competing for them, right? My time in Final Fantasy has prepared me for add-onless combat. Final Fantasy people are going to be clowning on us with their widespread, not legal, but tolerated raid add-ons. Yeah, that game's add-on situation is super interesting because Final Fantasy doesn't allow add-ons, but they kind of have no way to tell if you're using them unless you stream yourself using them. They also, because they aren't regulated, they are also, like, completely insane third-party shit. Like, what is possible with add-ons in Final Fantasy is, like, greater than anything even in current WoW you can do with weak auras. And you can just kind of use them unless you catch yourself. No one's gonna catch you. You gotta, like, catch yourself. Do you think this might lead to less data mining, so that we might get dungeons and raids where we don't know what's coming until we actually play it? I don't think that has any relation to what's happening. Like, will have zero effect on what you just said. Max, have you talked to anyone on Undaunted about the accessibility side of add-ons? Not particularly, no. I mean, I spoke to someone who was trying to get into alpha, and then I reached out, and, you know, they basically, in other ways, just told me to fuck off. They told me to, like, link them a thing to fill out like everyone else. This is not like a... Yeah, but the, I mean, I haven't spoken to them, but, like, I imagine what's going to help is they have... I mean, they do have, like... This wouldn't help Undaunted, I think, specifically... But they have tech in the game for, like, you know, sounds when, like, things come off cooldowns and stuff. Not to mention that, like, audio reminders will probably still exist. I'm not sure what other, like, accessibility aids they would need specifically. Max, they are deaf. They can't hear. Yeah, yeah, that's why I said I don't know how that would help them specifically. But I'm not smart enough to know, like, if deaf means, like, hard of hearing, like, literally can't hear, or, like, it's, you know, like, low level and they need to use aids to be able to hear. I just know I'm not knowledgeable enough about it to say it wouldn't help them at all. But I imagine Add-ons being restricted certainly can't help any kind of accessibility need from players. I mean, that's like kind of what add-ons are like exclusively necessary for. Max, have you seen Luxthos's skinned cooldown manager? Yeah, it's fucking dope. I saw it earlier. Maybe I can pull it up. Twitter Luxthos. Maybe this will show up. Yeah, so like he basically coded an add-on that just makes the cooldown manager look way better, right? I mean, infinitely better than this. Looks pretty much like a weak ore package. I will be downloading the fuck out of that or something similar as soon as I can. There is a 0% chance that Blizzard can match accessibility, functionality, and customization with their native UI within a reasonable time frame. And right now, a reasonable time frame is, I'm pretty sure this expansion's coming out in like 4 or 5 months. So, yeah, I mean, you're not wrong. It's you're just simply not wrong. So I don't know. I think they can cover some stuff, right? Just not everything, which is why I'm concerned that they're doing just like actually everything. I think they're going too far with the removal, right? Like, but I also don't know how any of this stuff works. I imagine for them to effectively remove the bad stuff that we want gone, maybe they have to remove some of the stuff. You know what? I also, like, I'm pretty dobby about all this. I don't think this is going in a good direction, just to be clear. But I also am willing to, well, I want them to, like, give them feedback and stuff, but I am not, like, the game is over, the game is dead, right? Like, I am interested in seeing it. Like, I was even a little dobby about, like, the simplification of classes, and then I played a few of the classes that I normally play, and it's just extremely similar from live. I can't say that about every single class, but at least the few that I play is, like, actually so insanely similar. So I'm personally not, like, super doom about that, but that could definitely be different if I played a different spec. In almost every circumstance in life, pulling off the Band-Aid, drinking the bad medicine is the long-term right decision, even though it sucks in the short term. Their approach to a problem everyone recognizes seems to be tracking that well-treaded path. So wise. So many wise words in there. Out here saying smart stuff. What a scholar. So true, and sometimes mistakes are just mistakes. I mean, hey, if you want to know anything, I can guarantee you that the reaction today has led to a meeting or multiple meetings with people who make important decisions about whether they indeed have gone too far with what is currently being restricted. The answer to that might not be what you want. The answer from that meeting is, no, actually, we're right, or something, right? I wasn't there. But that meeting almost certainly happened, and if anything's going to come from it, I think the feedback certainly could not have not been heard. So, we'll see what happens probably next week. How's Alpha been going? I mean, I haven't really played that much, honestly. It's been really hard to play Alpha because there's just been so much news and information to react to, honestly. It's just, there's actually so much going on. Like, the whole, like, playing the game right now feels so secondary to, like, what is this game going to be in, you know, however many months. I would be surprised if they didn't expect this reaction. You know, I think they might not have expected it because I don't know how deeply Blizzard knew exactly what was going to get nuked. You know, because, and I'll give an example. there are some interview quotes where he's like, this is what we want to break. This is what's bad for the game. If you want this, this, and this, and they list things that like add-ons should still be able to do, and those don't work, which makes me think there is a disconnect between what Blizzard thinks they are removing versus what they actually are removing based on like the restrictions in the API, right? So I bet there was a decent level of surprise, unless because Ian, you know, some of you guys feel this way about this game, but like I think Ian really knows what he's talking about. He's very, very way smarter than me. Probably the smartest person in the room most times he's in a room, right? That guy's not dumb. If he's just saying wrong shit on this stuff, I don't think he's lying. I think they're probably just weren't entirely sure what was going to break, because they don't make these add-ons, right? They don't know exactly what they pull from. I'm sure they have some knowledge, but like not nearly as much as the developers in that way. Did you peep the JB, Ellesmere, and Megaset dev interview? Low-key, I haven't seen almost any dev interviews. So we could actually do that. If you want. If there's some good ones. Well, why did my Fist of Fury cancel? You did it again. You bitch. Max, remember when you said you wanted Blizzard to hire these add-on developers? Hire or consult with them, yeah. Basically, my take was, if you're going to be trying to do all of this, even in a relatively long period of time, your best guess is like heavily consulting or hiring these people so they will do it really well. You can just basically buy years and years and years of information that will save you time. And also, you said wait, Max, didn't you say this? But I don't feel any differently, by the way. I still strongly think they should do that. And I don't think anything that's happened would have changed that opinion. With maybe I'm misreading the way you actually typed it, but it's still genuinely so crazy to me that they're still doing this all at once. Yeah, same. I even tweeted as much today. It's just simply insane. Like, just crazy that it's actually so fast. I mean, this literally just feels like Windwalker feels not like 95% of Windwalker from last expansion. Literally, it feels exactly the same. Zero simplification. Same shit. We lost a fuse, though. That kind of hurts. Y'all classes can get nuked, bro. My shit's goated. Haven't they talked about it for a long time, though, now? We knew. No one knew they were going to go this fast. That's wrong. I don't even Blizzard knew that shit.
We didn't come this far to falter now.
I was under the impression it was going to be like over the course of like the entire expansion or multiple expansions to implement all this stuff. Has there ever been an alpha cycle in WoW that has had this much discussion around it? Yeah, Dragonflight, like the Dragonflight talents. That was probably peak alpha discussion. As far as like alpha's out for 2 days, this amount of like drama and polarizing stuff, I would say like definitely not. But that's not exactly what you were asking. Yeah, Covenants was also massive, yeah. Also, it's also say there's probably just more discussion around Shadowlands because like so many more people played Shadowlands in COVID. It's just perfect storm situation. You don't think this is polarizing at all if you don't live on the internet? You don't think what's gone down in the last like 24 hours hasn't been even remotely polarizing? Like what kind of shit are you into to where this is like nothing? I mean, dude's in the fucking trenches. This ain't shit, bro. I deal with this drama every day. That's real. You also think people are overreacting? Yeah, probably. Always hard to tell the line between overreacting versus like properly reacting, because the whole like the reality is when this is an alpha and they say it's an alpha's alpha, this is like their exact words, like this game is not complete yet, give us your feedback, like other alphas have been. The whole like let's take some time and have a reasonable response. It's okay to say that, but here's one thing. Some people aren't going to be able to play this game until beta comes out. And then maybe there's people who can't even afford beta, right? They're not going to get to actually play with this stuff to see if their class is actually nuked. But maybe they watched a video of someone that they like and they're like, wow, this looks not fun. Or they're speculating where add-ons are going to be. If you wait till beta, maybe it's too late. Like, overreacting, maybe, but, like, the squeaky wheel gets the grease. If you're really loud about shit you don't like, they might make some changes. And if you wait until everyone has enough time to make the most perfect decision on how they're going to react, it might be too late, right? You kind of have to speak out when you want to be heard. That's fine. Those people who don't play beta will have pre-patch. Bro, if the pre-patch is already out and you're waiting till then, if no one complains at all, you could maybe have some restrictions not walked back that would have been walked back. I'm not saying it's all warranted, but I think the whole like everyone's overreacting thing is. There's a lot of times that's true. I don't really know if that's true right now, because there's it is. I think the main thing for me is just how much of what is happening is stuff they literally said wouldn't happen. Like, bar for bar. We're removing this because this is bad. Okay, cool. I hear you. Cool. But then they just did more than that. Right? Literally in Ian's interview, I think this is an exact quote. Weak auras isn't going anywhere. Just the, like, crazy combat stuff you can do with weak auras. Well, it sounds like right now weak auras is so fundamentally fucked that it's not even worth making it with what you could even remain to do. So, I mean, maybe you could kind of glean from what he said, like, because they said they could make a bare bones stripped down version of weak auras, and maybe they'll decide to do that, right? But that's still not going to be what he said wasn't going away. Max, the main issue is that it completely obliterates 99% of the accessibility for us disabled players. We're getting just straight up kicked out of the game. Yeah, I mean, obviously I can't relate to that, and I don't know too much about it, but I believe you, and yeah, it's really fucking bad. Right? That is for sure bad. Something I might do in the next coming weeks is maybe try to house some discussion around that, something I'm planning on doing tomorrow is actually having a few of the add-on developers that are really involved with this kind of get together and have a conversation about all this so we can maybe add some nuance to the topic. I don't really know too much about that, and I shouldn't even be in that conversation. I'm just more using my platform to be able to maybe amplify what they're saying. So I could maybe do that for if people want to contact me for like the disabled community. I don't know a ton of people in that area, but it's possible that, you know, amplifying that message could be good. I want to kill this guy up here. But he's really far away from me, and he's holding something that I want. Wait, where are the other weapons? Some of these classes without huge weak aura and support crushes will also feel difficult already. Well, I think that's specifically what they're trying to curb. Like, clearly tracking a bunch of shit on your UI was needed for... That's one thing that I'm not super dobby about is, again, if your class is like a 3-button spec now and it's way less fun for you and all that stuff like that, that sucks, right? But I think what's happening to a lot of classes is there's way less reliance on bursty cooldowns. They're making your regular buttons so much more important. You still have your same cooldowns and everything, but, like, stuff is just more balanced without the need for, like, 5 talents to be buffing the same thing for it to do anything. I think both for healers, DPS, everybody, that's, like... There is a lot of value in that, and I think that goes directly towards what you're saying. Like, some of these classes will be really crazy without weak auras. Well, I think that's kind of why they are making some of the classes more simpler. Not to say they haven't gone too far or whatever. Housing cost us weak auras. I don't think... Maybe you're joking. I don't think weak auras had anything to do with... I think housing, actually, surprisingly, as big of a thing as it is, I don't think it has anything to do with any of this. But you know that, I think. This will be better. Ultimately, it'll just take time. Well, first of all, you don't necessarily know if that's true, but let's just say you're right. I still think people worrying have a right to do that. Well, not... Well, I mean, obviously, everyone has a right to do whatever the fuck they want, but they're valid in that concern. They're not, like, being crazy. Is, like, maybe some people love the way this game is right now and don't want to wait for it to eventually be better. They don't want to take the immediate, maybe this game will be worse for me. Again, no one really knows that yet. But let's say that's just true, right? Like, some people just enjoy the game less until enough time has passes where this is all figured out and the stuff in game's a lot better or whatever. Like, that's a legitimate concern. It's kind of hard to argue it isn't. Also, another thing about being polarizing is some of this is for new players, although I do think the amount of this being about the new player experience is being overstated, actually, because I think a lot of these were, at least the combat add-ons were something that people were saying is, you know, existing players were very concerned about this. Is the other one downstairs? Yeah. I think the new player thing, like, isn't as big. But even if, for whatever it is, right, if people do feel that way, like, I don't care about you making the game better for new players because I'm an existing player, and it doesn't matter to me if new players like this game. I mean, it kind of does because, like, you know, if your game dies, obviously, you guys have ever played a game that's died, like, you would have wished at some point they would have gotten some new players in so you could have keep playing this game you liked. Not saying that's going to happen to WoW. I think it's actually, like, probably will never happen to WoW. To be honest with you, even no matter how much crazy shit happens.
We fight for home.
I doubt many new players are coming. You know, I pretty much agree with you, but I do. The reason why I think something like that could happen is I still genuinely believe. I can't really speak after these changes because I haven't played enough of the classes yet, but I'm just assuming. Maybe I'm wrong. I'm assuming it's just all going to be fine, right? It's going to be fine. They'll walk some stuff back. They'll change some other shit. I don't know. It'll be fine. I still think WoW has, like, if you can get through the barrier of entry into actually playing this game, it's just like the best game. Like WoW PvE gameplay, it just 360 windmill dunks everything. Especially, bro, if you got friends you can play with, raid with, or Mythic Plus with, it's the gameplay is just the GOAT, unfortunately. Which is why I think getting new players in works, because I think the actual product, you're not tricking someone in on something. It's hard to get into this game, but the game fucking owns hard, right? So that's why I think trying to get new players in is fine, because I think that once you get anyone in, I think the quality is good. Also, this is like a super random aside. I was playing hockey with some kid last night, 19-year-old, and he knows what I do. And he just randomly brought up that he's been starting playing WoW. And I immediately was like, retail or classic? And he goes retail. And I'm like, this is so weird. Like, so many people get into classic because they like got big on Twitch and like kids watch Twitch and stuff. And he's like, yeah, I'm playing a paladin. I'm not max level yet. I'm really busy with school, but like it seems really fun, stuff like that. And I'm just like, damn, that is the first time I've ever heard a fucking child tell me that they were just like, they like MMOs. They played a bunch of RuneScape and earlier in their life, and they were like, yeah, I'm just like fucking into MMOs, bro, and I can't wait to play retail. So like, I don't know how common those people are, but I actually had like a real life experience the other day that like kind of changed my perspective on that. I hope I can make it to this thing. Yeah, okay. Did the game just ping the guy for me because I wasn't doing it? That's crazy.
We stand together.
Yeah. I should buy my extra action button, eh? Let me do that, actually. Oh, I canceled the channel by doing it. Oh, it did the cinematic early, though.
Pleasantries can wait. Fight well.
Also change where it is. Wait, can you move your extra? Yeah, it's like, yeah, sure, whatever.
I answer to the light.
Max, did you see that the baseline damage meter won't be able to track Augmentation Evoker on launch? Oh, I mean, that's kind of not surprising, honestly. The thing that makes me not worried too much about Aug anymore is that because it's going on everyone equally, you don't have to actually look at your details meter and wonder who's owning based on who randomly got Auged more. Everyone will be getting Auged, I believe, the same amount. I think you can still prescience some people, but that's like obviously significantly less impactful. But yeah, ever since that one guy quit, the Aug log hooks have been completely broken. It's kind of stupid. Rehire Aug guy? Hell yeah. His last name was Burger, too. That goes crazy. So does every raid just auto-run one Aug now? Well, what's interesting is the way that Aug was listed. I don't know if I fully understand what the change said, but, like, I don't know if like running 1 versus 2 versus 3, if they're like the same benefit each Aug you bring. I mean, obviously no one knows how well they're tuned. Ebon Might can go on everyone in the raid and it could still be bad, right? Like it splits its effect. So like, I have no idea if it's gonna be strong or not. We don't know anything. But as far as What was I gonna say? As far as like how many you bring, like before it was like you can't Ebonmite more than 2 on the same person, which means like more than 2 Augs is usually like pretty bad. I don't know if that's still gonna be the case. So it could be like you could run more Augs now or 0, based on tuning. Who knows? What is it? Ebonmite is still limited to 2 iterations of the buff. Okay, then you would only ever potentially run 2, but like I don't even know if it would be good enough to run 2. Certainly be much easier. There's very W change for Aug, like no question about it. The change that needed to happen. Bro, Con with Celestial still does so much damn. Max, do you think the changes Blizzard is making is kind of oriented to bringing classic players into retail so the player base is less fragmented? I could believe that maybe more if this happened when, like, Classic was more popular. So, like, you know, Classic or BC. But, like, I think by now, if, like, anyone from Classic, it's been out so long that if anyone was going to try retail, they would have already done it. I think it's more like, are they doing it to make it easier for anyone to get into WoW? Sure. And are you more likely to play WoW if you already play Classic than like someone else, just like a random person? Like, yeah, I think so. But I don't think it like specifically targeted at Classic, no. I don't have Touch of Karma. Oh, I got that Touch of Death though. Yes, sir. Max, do you think that all these changes will have WoW headed towards console in a couple years? I don't know. I mean, they got acquired by Microsoft, so like, are there some couch dads that want to game WoW on their couch with a controller? Probably. So like, Microsoft might be incentivized to do that. Something that I don't know is like exactly how much things would need to change technically to really make that happen. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know. My only thing is like people have been saying that forever and I just don't like, why hasn't it happened yet, you know? I'm sure they've had a bunch of conversations about it. Why didn't it happen 10 years ago? Like, basically, could they eventually put it on console? Yes. Do I think that's why they're making these changes now? Would be my last guess. Max, a lot of Zaryu's chat was rating the changes very positively, and they're mostly classic Andes. Yeah, nothing about what you just said is surprising at all. I could have told you that without even knowing it. But if they are classic Andes, then why does their opinion matter? It's not about whether it matters or not. Like, he's just saying, like, this is what they thought. Like, I think it's pretty obvious. Like, isn't it, like, a very normal, like, thing for anyone associated with classic to be like, man, retail used to be for me, but then all these changes, it's not because they aren't a kid anymore. It's like, all these changes happened, and this happened, and the Dungeon Finder, and she's not the same, bro. It's not the same, and the reason why is this, and it's this thing that's like in the game or worse now than it was then to them. And one thing for a lot of those people is add-ons. It's like if you talk to a classic player, they're going to tell you add-ons are the reason WoW is dead, like at least like 80 out of 100 times. So like, yeah, it's not Not surprising that anyone feels that way. It's also an Asmongold take, right? And isn't he like the ruler of the jaded old WoW players? So like I'm sure they all have that take. And before you don't say thank you for a year worth of subs. Yo, Narthipu, thank you for the 12 months. Yo. Silvermoon looks good. Yeah. One thing unrelated to any of this discourse that's happened over the last few days is the WoW art team is undefeated. The shit they make looks fucking crazy style. Bro, what do you think would have happened if, like, when BC released, Silvermoon just fucking looked like this? Like, would people have actually just exploded on the spell? Like, just have literally no idea how to, how to figure that out. It's unacceptable that the Alliance players are allowed here. Bro, so true. I wrote a handwritten letter to Blizzard about that earlier. For the Horde, brother. Shit, I have new gear and I haven't put it on yet. And that's not good. Shouldn't I? Wait, what do I have already? Do I have a one-hander or a two-hander? I should have gotten a one. Okay, I got a two-hander because I'm an idiot. So I should get another one-hander so I can wear two of them bitches. Put that on. Put that on. Wait. What is this? Why doesn't it show all my bag spots? Is that like a, oh, it's like a, it's an option, isn't it? Yeah, combine bags. There we go. Oh, this is the level 80 shit that I already have. I see. So now I just made my bags look like shit for no reason. Cool. Oh, okay, I got some food. Max, from a classic player in a, in quotes, top guild, we use more add-ons in classic than on retail, to be honest. I mean, it's probably similar, but yeah, I mean, I've seen the Race World First in classic. They have, like, they have some crazy creative weak auras for, like, everything. Which makes sense, you're trying to go fast. We are a nation on... I greet you on behalf of Silver. That's actually maybe my most annoyed... The most annoyed I am at what weak auras have been over the past, like, 5 or 6 years specifically is, like, how you can do just... You could do a just any mechanic, just any random mechanic. You could do it 98% of the time, 99.5% of the time without a weak aura. But if a weak aura or some kind of logic system or something made you able to do it 99.7% of the time, you just do it because it's the fastest thing, but it just, like, sucks your soul out. It was nice when we, like, competed for the Race World First initially, and we just... Like, we were getting absolutely weak aura gapped. We were, even in our first couple of wins, just unbelievably weak aura gapped. Like, our opponents were just using stuff that was crazy, and we were just actually YOLOing it. And obviously that's bad, because, like, you're not going as fast, and you want to compete and all that shit. But, like, bro, it was nice to be, like, a blissfully ignorant back then and just playing the game.
Our enemy
rays will fall.
That burst of energy from the Sunwell, it was more powerful than any magic I've ever encountered.
How will the race to world first change with 3 different raids?
They say that Armin
Bro, I
contains
actually
this,
have no
but
idea.
I heard the surge was their doing.
My guess, and I
Did
think
you
they've
understand
alluded to
what
as
they meant?
much, where... So, the March on Keldanos is the 2 boss raid, right? This is the one that's releasing later. I believe Ian... Someone also told me that, like, Ian... I forget who I was talking to, but they, like, spoke to him at Gamescom or something, and he mentioned that, like, basically, think of it as one raid, right? Like, the Dream Rift and Void Spire, which come out all at the same time. That's going to have all the tier gear and stuff, but this is basically, like, 7 bosses that would be the beginning to mid to starting to be the later of, like, a raid, and then, like, the last 2 bosses are just in one raid, right? And they're releasing later, which is weird, because, like, if the Race World First is coming out for, like, this first raid, like, if there's only, like, a Fractalus in the raid, but no Nexus King and Dimensius, like, obviously you're just going to turbo shit on that, so it's, like, not even going to be much of a race. You know, if we really cared and didn't want to do splits, we could maybe clear that shit, you know, before you even gets it or some shit like that, right? If we really wanted to. Which is, like, weird for the race, but then I guess the race is maybe just going to be these last 2 bosses, which would be like, okay, that's what the race usually is anyway, right? Might take a week to kill these 2 bosses or something. But then it's, like, separated, and, like, the patch hype is, like, kind of past at that point. Definitely, I don't know what it is for the game. I think for the race, this is going to be an extremely weird race to watch. And then also to participate in it, I don't see any other reality than the first raids come out. Forget who kills them first. Whoever wins the raid is going to be whoever kills Midnight Falls first, this boss. I think Race World First competitors are going to be doing Mythic splits from the second these come out until you are doing the last raid, which just sounds just absolutely miserable. So, I mean, we'll see how it plays out, but it's potentially real bad. Are these the only raids planned for midnight? No, this is just like the first tier. This is like when this raid came out and Nerebar Palace came out. These 3 things are just Nerebar Palace. I would say it's the most closely related to like the beginning of Cataclysm in tier 11 where they had the 3 raids. It's just in this raid, they are just releasing one of the raids 2 weeks later. And that raid is from all ways you can look at it are like those bosses are going to be the fucking bangers. Like if there's normally like 700 to 1,000 pulls in any Race to World First, and usually like 600, like 80% of those are on the last 2 bosses, those are probably going to be both of these bosses. It's definitely going to be, it's definitely unique. There's never really been another raid release like this. I guess maybe again another closest one could be like the beginning of Mob, where they released Motion Vaults, then Heart of Fear, then Terrace, but Terrace was like the one that mattered. But they're releasing like Motion Vaults and Heart of Fear at the same time. Obviously much less bosses, but... I like how it's, even on the new X-Pack Alpha, bro is just running in circles yapping. Welcome to the stream, man.
The pleasure is mine.
Max, are you expecting people to steal loot now during splits? Huh? Oh no, we have ways of dealing with that. Are you going to bother to race it at all? Oh, yeah. The Race to the World First sounds cool. That's usually what we do.
We will persevere. Farewell.
Yeah. The only thing I still, the race is like my favorite thing. So I'm still really passionate about doing it. The only way I'm like guaranteed money back in quitting the race. And this is something that in all the stuff that's been being talked about these last couple days, of all of those things, there's one thing that hasn't really been discussed, which is certainly possible. and this will be the reason that if I ever quit the race, it'll be because of this, is if this like removal of add-ons, what you guys are assuming is like, okay, well, like we're not gonna be able to use these add-ons, and we're just gonna have to use what Blizzard gives us. Okay, that's one way to look at it. That's in that world where that happens, that's ideal. Another thing that could happen is people, like anyone, is like, you know what, I really liked having weak auras or something like that. I really liked being able to track this stuff. I'm gonna come up with some third-party overlay shit that like does it for me, right? Because like I have such a reliance on it. That, if anything like that happens, I'm fucking out of here, bro. Like, I don't want anything to do with that.
The dark times will...
The last I saw shadows descend on Quel'Danas, Arthas marched on our kingdom with his army of Scourge. Now another army marches in our streets, saying they're here.
Timeline always on as a choice. Oh, I should only do it in raid combat, right?
Certain of that.
Is that a thing? Visibility in combat. Sure. You can't ban some things that are not trackable. Well, actually, I mean, I think it's unlikely this happens. By the way, I don't think this is like likely to happen. But so Blizzard, people will talk about Final Fantasy. Final Fantasy has no way of telling if you're using third-party add-ons because the game's just like spaghetti code. They just no idea if you're using it on your computer or not. WoW has anti-cheat and has banned, and for many years, like 10 plus years, has banned people for using third-party tools, mostly like bots and stuff like that. Like they have the ability to track that and have experience with doing that, something Final Fantasy does not do, right? So like, I don't think the Final Fantasy relation is something that really matters because those games are very different in that way specifically. Also, I imagine Blizzard would heavily be looking to ban anyone using this stuff, at least if they had any proof of it. But yeah, I mean, all those things, it could still be really unlikely to happen, but it's still a fear in the back of my mind. Like, I don't know. That just sounds like the worst thing of all time. What if they make the raid a joke now that add-ons are gone? To be honest with you, even I would probably be the person the most affected with this. Like, obviously, a race to world first that's just really easy is, like, takes what we love from the game away, right? Like, that would be really bad. I would argue maybe we would be the most affected by that, both financially and just, like, love for the game just being nuked. I think a better alternative is the first raid they make, they miss on it being too easy, I guess, rather than the opposite, which is now all these things are gone, but they didn't learn what those things were capable of, and now everyone fucking hates raiding because it's like impossibly hard for every guild. Like that's a worse alternative, right? But I'm not super worried about that, and the reason why is because some of the hardest bosses of all time, including the majority of them, like more than 50%, especially recently, have like those are the bosses where you're using weak auras because they make you X% better, not because you need weak auras. Like they have made some of the hardest bosses ever have needed basically no weak auras, and the only weak auras that are being used are like the most basic shit ever. Or UI customization. Like that's all that's happening, right? So because that already exists, I mean, it's possible they like goof and do like a Brood Twister like first tier or something, but I think it'd be crazy. I just think they're gonna really stray away from like any strict assignment-y type stuff. But again, those are rare. There's like less than one of those in every single raid, where like a weak aura is assigning something for you that you absolutely need a weak aura to do. That is rare. Like those, it doesn't seem rare because they're very talked about and, you know, usually stick out. Like those are not common. So, I think I'm not super concerned that they'll fuck that up, but I think they have the dungeon journal out. Honestly, I could probably go through the bosses and actually tell you which bosses have like some concerns with stuff like that. But I imagine that's one thing that would be pretty easy for them not to fuck up.
I am rather busy. Be about your work.
Max, are the weak aura technicians of Liquid and Echo now jobless? I feel genuinely bad for them. For the time being, no. In fact, kind of the opposite. I personally feel inclined to like hire more smart weak aura brain people to figure out what is, especially in this landscape of like this completely unknown area of what is possible and what isn't, to still be of any support as they can possibly, especially in this first tier, like figure out what is actually possible to do to still help us, because we just want to win, right? So it's going to be hard to navigate that with so much changing that I kind of feel like we want more people. Now, after this tier, if it's like, okay, well, we had all these smart people and we couldn't do fucking anything, then it's like, okay, well, maybe you have to look at that. But at least for this first tier, I think a big mistake would be like, well, this stuff doesn't work, and then you go away from it, and then someone else has some crazy shit, and then you just lose. You can't really do that, right? Specifically, there's a bare bones version of weak auras that can still be able to do, I checked on this today, like a lot of the stuff that we need weak auras to do with stuff with like splits and things like that. So, I mean, we're still going to absolutely employ that. So the answer to your question is, I can't speak for Echo, but the answer to that is no. But they might eventually. And one thing in general is people who make a living on anything WoW add-on related, they're it is possible that their shit is cooked or soon to be cooked, or certainly the outlook isn't great. That is absolutely true.
The rebuilding continues.
You know who might be truly losing the most are actually the fucking add-on, the people who sold their UIs, bro. That was one of the best grifts for so many years. Like, they were making fucking money doing that shit, bro. They had good fucking UIs too, but if I'm them, that's like a major source of income gone.
We have made many sacrifices.
As a raid leader, how do you expect to get information about what to call from whoever you're watching? Using my fucking massive noggin, bro. I'm actually built for this shit. I'm so back. I'll have a fucking clipboard, my guy. Max, they mentioned in an interview that they would take action against people who were trying to circumvent the new add-on restrictions. Yeah, I mean, that's, first of all, I didn't know that, but I'm not surprised by that. I mean, I can't imagine they can say anything else other than like, hey, Blizzard, what are you going to do about people who try to circumvent your add-on restrictions? All right, I don't know what they're about to say, but I'm going to bet my entire house they're about to say they're going to ban them. Because, like, obviously they're going to do that and say that.
Welcome to the trading post.
Wait, what does it want me to get here? Collect Trader's Bounty. Bro, I'm trying. Give me my tendies.
Come see my wares.
What about my tender?
Now don't you be gone too long.
Oh, this is a stupid other quest, bro. It wants me to reach Fairbreeze Village. But yeah, hopefully anyone who circumvents add-on restrictions gets fucking banned. That's not what I was referring to when I said, like, I want as many smart people as possible to come up with whatever we can do. I was not... I promise you, ain't no fucking way we're doing some third-party shit. I literally will quit on the spot because I don't want anything to do with that. It's fucking... I want to do this shit natty. I just hope no one does it. I will fucking instantly shoot anyone in our guild that is like, we should do something third-party related. What I was referring to is you can still do a lot of stuff with weak auras, a bear-down version of weak auras that we could even maintain to still handle a lot of responsibility that we do specifically for splits. What will you shoot them with? I don't know. Something. Maybe a water gun. The Blick. Unfortunate side effect is that the Race World First broadcast will have a lot of the overlays stripped away now. True. But positive thing is the main reason the broadcasts need a simplified thing where you're always looking at the same UI is because everyone's UI looks so different. But now everyone's UI is going to look pretty similar. So when you go from POV to POV, the same UI elements are going to be there and you'll kind of know what you're looking at, or at least more so than before, to where I think it'll be less confusing to not have that.
It's a fine day for trade.
Replace each week or reminder removed with one intern standing. Yeah, bro, you guys want to help us in the race? We'll hire you guys to come out to our facility, and just each one of you are a personal Raiders reminder system. Just fucking tell them that shit when it's time. We're paying you nothing. You do not get paid at all. In fact, you pay us. We're taking bids. Actually, no. We'll pay you in one McDonald's franchise somewhere in the middle of the country. Very small town.
Remember the sun well.
And it's sink or swim, buddy.
Stay the course.
You better figure that shit out.
Salama Ashalanore.
The world.
Glory to the Sindorai. Time is of the essence.
Perhaps when the Sunwell blew sky high into that swirling vortex? Sorry, I'm a bit overwhelmed.
Alright, I think we might watch some interviews. Alright, so, without all talking at once, there's a million interviews out there. Some of them are going to repeat themselves. Some of them are going to have questions I don't care about. Some of them might stink. Some of them might be great. To help me figure out which one has the most, like, relevant answers into stuff that we would actually care about. All suck, make your own. I don't have an interview thing right now. Alright, squats linked to YouTube video. What is this? This better not be a meme. What is this? Add-on raid difficulty and more. Okay, this is Preach Gaming.
Pretty much.
Okay, what are the oh nice. We can look at the categories here. The scope of add-on removal, reskinning of limited new combat data, class pruning and making the game too easy, flexibility in design and making changes, being creative in a larger Blizzard, we can skip that. Evergreen systems and parallel expansions, can skip that. The challenges in a 3-part expansion, can skip that. Midnight's 3 raids and their difficulty, very interested in this. And then housing and its limitations, we can skip that. Alright, we can get through this in like probably 10 minutes. Let's just start from the beginning, see if any of these are interesting. Preach is only one step above Bellular these days. Dude, speaking of Bellular, I saw a fire fucking tweet earlier. Straight fire, bro. Dude, where is this shit? It goes crazy. Was it yesterday? Here we go, bro. No alpha on our side. Wouldn't have happened with the old Blizzard, but here we are. What the fuck does that mean? I know rather directly what's up. What does that mean? I mean, he probably is a content creator, right? He should have gotten access, whatever. But then the fucking c'est la vie. And then he hits an absolute turbo banger. Wait, where is it? Okay, no, where's the turbo banger? Here it is, bro. Someone asks him, "Oh, do tell." And he goes, "I'm feeling nice for now." There's some crazy anime energy. I thought this was just a fucking banger, and I wanted y'all to see it. Okay. Here we go. You're not gonna. I'm gonna get you back.
All of our specs at a
good, and then
me
more
turn it up.
information happened, and now I've got all the questions in the world for you, if that's okay.
I'm sure you do. Yeah, this has been a whirlwind week for us, sharing all this information about Alpha through the deep dive, through the Q&A.
I don't know Paul Cubitt. Paul Cubitt is the associate game director. Oh, we went over this recently. Previously I thought associate game director was Morgan Day, but I think he might have gotten promoted above that title, and I wasn't familiar with any other people with that title. But Paul does. I don't know exactly what he works on. He is the main director on Midnight. He's the Midnight boss. Oh, cool.
And then folks like yourself getting into hop in and play, and soon lots and lots more people hopping in through Alpha and Beta. So really excited to talk about Midnight with you.
Oh, excellent. Okay, so we had a good chat game, Sky, but now we've got to try it, and I got to play it. Let's talk about add-ons a little bit, because I had a lot of people distressed and coming to talk to me after the alpha was going on.
More now. This is a day later. The add-on distress has shot up 1,000,000 times. So
we had an interview with one of the DBM mods guys.
Mm-hmm.
This seems like you're not quite sure exactly what you're taking away yet, but you've gone and taken everything away, and then going to see over the course of the alpha what people are saying. I really need this.
Oh my god, the answer to this question is going to be fucking huge.
And then going to bring it in. Is that kind of the approach?
Yeah, so I'm not the most technical person to talk about the specific calls in the API, which are disabled currently in Alpha. But we've been working pretty closely, and our UI engineering team in particular has been working pretty closely with add-on authors to make sure that is clear and understood. And generally what that information is being cut out is real-time understanding of combat information. So that's presence of auras, of applications of auras, damage, things like that.
Okay, so it's good to hear that clarified again, because, I mean, something that you guys are probably all chomping at the bit to type in chat right now is obviously significantly more than just this is being affected. So it's more figuring out whether they walk it back to what they've been saying, and if it's originally too far. Because what Preach just said is what you guys are... He was like, you guys are just going to take everything away and then add it back little by little. And then he didn't really give a clear answer to that, but it sounds like, at least still from this interview a couple days ago, what they are saying is going away is a little bit less than what is actually going away currently.
What add-ons will no longer have direct access to, such that they can perform calculations on them to in cases trivialize encounters or make changes to rotations. And so this is going to be a continuing conversation with add-on authors as we move through Alpha, and one of the reasons why we've invited a lot of add-on authors to be able to come in.
Okay. So you're not super sure on what's going to go away, but the main focus is...
Sorry, this is going to be really stupid. How is Preach... How is his chair both behind the frame? Right here? And then... like outside of the frame here. Oh, I think it's just that his, like, I'm guessing his camera feed is literally cut off right here where you see this outline, but it's just simply not cut off on the top, and then his element is just ahead of this one. That's what it is. Okay, but it looks sick though, honestly, it's pretty cool.
It's been from our feedback is reskinning. Do you know what the philosophy is internal with that? It's like, you've created this mod. It shows certain information.
It's a green... Yeah, I know it's a green... Okay.
We're not going to give you more than that, but I'd just like to change how it looks.
Yeah, so we do
I know
have
it's not
some
a
new
real
tech,
window.
that our UI engineers have been working on to make reskinning and the way that information is presented possible without the having direct access to that information. We call it sort of secret info or secret numbers. Ian described it as a black box, I think, yesterday in the Q&A, where information is presented to the UI in this sealed box, and then your UI can change it. You can grow it, turn it yellow, turn it pink, whatever you want to do. Change the order of things, and change the presentation of information. What it can't do is do calculations based on the number inside of whatever that is inside that box. And so this should allow things like reskinning and visual customization to be possible for add-on authors and players who use add-ons.
And it is still possible in some way. One thing that before I looked up the Bellular thing, right, like this is something that one person made in a day. This is the WoW cooldown manager reskinned, right? So like you're gonna have the ability to do some customization stuff, but right now it is kind of like end of the earth.
Fantastic.
Shit.
So we're looking that cosmetically, even though...
And from what it seems like a lot of add-on authors is like, they're not saying what they're able to do is totally fucked. They're just like, it's so different that we would have to completely rebuild this thing, and that is probably not worth it for how little it will be able to do. Which is a totally valid reason for that. I totally understand that, but they're also at the same time not saying... Like, the Whoah people are kind of saying... They're not saying we are unable to do anything with Whoah as it has to die. They are saying what is left to do with Whoah is so basic that it is not worth the amount of effort it's going to take us to remake this add-on for what is going to be capable of doing. Not that it is unable to, or someone else might make something a lot more bare bones, right?
We're using your information, provide we can make it look how we want it to be.
Exactly. Yep.
Oh, that's superb, because that was very worrying. Something like, I don't like this icon to be in this way.
Yeah, and then of course this is not simply changes to the API and that's it. There's also a tremendous amount of work that UI designers, artists, and engineers have been working on to make sure that we are providing all that information, etc.
Okay, well that kind of moves us on to the simplification process we saw recently. Big post came out for you guys. Lots of class changes going through. Is this something that you've pulled from data from the one button coming in? Like, has there been an increased success rate?
Oh.
Maybe things are more complicated than we originally thought.
The answer to this is going to be no.
Or has this been in the works for a while?
We think about the one button rotation and the approachability efforts that go into Midnight as almost two separate things. The one button rotation has been more for just folks who prefer to play the game that way. We've heard feedback from a lot of folks who like that. One of the things that they want to do is move around the world, play through quests, explore the world of Azeroth, but the rotations or the ability to play their class to a level which feels acceptable was daunting, and this just made it a lot less stressful to be able to have to get over that hump to learn that.
Before we go any further, I 100% believe what he is saying is right, even though I've never heard from one of these people, because I do believe that just the absolute vast majority of WoW players probably agree with something like that, or a big amount of people, and it is something completely unrelatable to, like, it's so against what, like, the reason that I love this game is because of the rotations on the classes. Like, that is that's like there's other stuff, but it's kind of all because of that. So to know that there's just like a crazy amount of people who just love WoW and they would just rather skip that part. It's like trying to show your favorite movie to someone and they're on their phone and they don't care. It's like that. But I bet he's not wrong. Like, I fully believe them. I know some people, especially who like think like me, like hear that and they're like, "Oh, Blizzard's just fucking lying." It doesn't really benefit them in any way to lie about that. I definitely trust that is true, even though it doesn't relate to me at all.
And so that is sort of one aspect. The approachability efforts that are going into Midnight are focused on a number of different other reasons, some of which are tied to the changes that are made with add-ons, where we are making sure that we're addressing any abilities which made players feel like they needed to have add-ons. A good example is Outlaw Roll the Bones, where where there's some complex mathematics behind the scenes that was required to be able to play optimally. It was not, while you're in the middle of combat, trying to
like when to re-roll and when to just stay with what you have. Is that what he means?
Dodge pools of fire, trying to perform the rest of your rotation to understand, should I re-roll now? Should I keep the buffs that I have? And so abilities like that will be redesigned compensatorily to make sure that it doesn't feel like you need to have this additional calculated information to be able to play your class. And so these are the types of changes that are going into the class changes and our approachability approach.
I mean, obviously, a lot of people are fearful that when we see posts like this, oh, you're going to make the game very, very easy to play. But that's not the intention.
Oh. You know what? We're just not even going to go back. But that was very interesting.
Absolutely not. No, we still, the goal here is more to raise the floor so that we can make sure that it is easier for folks to be able to get into a new class, to understand the rotation, but there should still be plenty of opportunities for skill expression, plenty of opportunities for players who have been playing hard, playing a lot, playing at high level, to be able to express their skill over others, and to have a good time doing so. And this is one of the big reasons that we do tend to have an alpha at the point where we have it now, is because we're just at the point where we're able to test pretty much all of our specs at a level where they are able to to understand the intent behind most of these changes, and then we can continue to gather feedback. And so I know myself and a whole bunch of people on our team are actively looking around and seeing folks' feedback to how is this feeling? Does this feel? Do we hit the mark in terms of making this class feel a little bit more approachable? Are there places where we went too far?
Yeah, I'm okay. I'm very glad I listened to this answer. Because there are some classes that were made to be more simple. Like, I've played them on Alpha, where they feel basically exactly the same, and the stuff they got rid of was just kind of annoying or was redundant. But then there are classes that actually have become a complete meme. Like Resto Shaman and Fire Mage come to mind. Demo lock. So, hopefully what they are willing to do, which it sounds like he is absolutely willing to do early in this Alpha, is if the feedback is, this shit is fucking boring, all the fun of this class went away, obviously they should fix that, right? And at least from what I could tell over the last few days, I'm pretty sure that feedback has been given, so interested to see how that develops over the next couple weeks.
In respect to the fear that you brought up there, that did this take the class and sort of in approachability simplify some of the fun out of the play style, and if we hear that feedback, then we continue to iterate.
Good. Right? Now, are people going to doom until they see that iteration? Yes, but it is definitely refreshing to hear that they're not saying, yeah, we've dumbed down the game, some people might not like it, but this is the way it has to be. They're saying some things might still be too complicated, but also we may have gone too far, and if we have, we're going to iterate on it. I mean, that's all you can really hope to hear, right?
Oh, that's really good.
That's the person who's in charge of Midnight, by the way. So
we're looking to get as many people as possible to get this feedback going, because historically speaking, it's been very difficult to be agile in this environment. A lot of things have been set in stone, hard to swap them. But one of the things Ian brought up at Gamescom is that you've modified the communication and creation process now to allow you to be much more flexible here. Is this where we're going to see that example?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we have plenty of systems within sort of the org here that we can get feedback from players. We're getting bug reports through QA that we're able to address things that are just straight up bugged, but also get feedback from folks about how classes are playing, or how a zone's questline is playing, how one of the new features once people start playtesting Prey, or as they're.
I think we're going to skip this. We're going to skip being creative in a larger Blizzard. I don't even know what that is. Evergreen systems and parallel expansions. Going to totally skip that. Going to totally skip the challenges in a 3-part expansion. And we're going to go right to Midnight's 3 raids and their difficulty. That I am very interested in.
Okay, that's cool. Can I ask you about raiding? Because as somebody who takes part in casting the Race to World first, we're getting the staggered raid release.
Yeah.
Can you talk about that a little bit? Is that something to do with checking add-ons and the whole system is working before the big raid comes? Because there's a lot of theories going on right now as to why this staggering is going, or is it story-based? What's the idea there?
Yeah. So for those unaware, haven't been following the details of Midnight, we have 3 raids that are part of our first season. 9 total bosses, and they're split 6, 2, and 1. When the season starts, 2 of those raids, the 6 boss raid, the Void Spire, and the 1 boss raid, the Dreamwell, will be able to. Sorry, name escapes me while I'm on a live stream, but nevertheless, Dream Rift.
The 6 boss and the 1 boss raid come out right away.
There we go. Thank you.
Yep.
Is the second raid that is available, and then a couple weeks later, the March on Qualdenas becomes available. The reason we decided to split up the raids is
yes.
due to player feedback. This is something that actually came from our
Interesting. Okay.
encounter team. Having built a couple 8-boss raids a couple times in a row, we wanted to mix things up, and we'd heard feedback from players that like, it would be nice to have a breakup, to have some split raids like we have in the past. Going back to that mantra I said of like, if it
I mean, yeah, I've heard that. Like, I've heard people say he's right. So, number one, people are like, we've had a few 8-boss raids in a row. Definitely, I think people have asked for more bosses than 8. I think 9 or 10 sounds good, which you do get 9 this tier, I guess, this season, which is good. And there have been people that have, I mean, people say to my stream all the time, they're like, I wish we would get multiple raids at a time anymore. Even if it's still the same 9 bosses in one raid versus 9 bosses in 3 different places, people just like the idea of that. And I've heard that a lot, so I doubt, or I imagine they have as well.
broke, don't fix it doesn't necessarily apply. This is like, yeah, we do want to make sure that we're injecting.
Even if, like, they want it to just be different. Like, just been a million 8-boss raids in a row. Like, just let's have it feel a little different, right? Even if it's change for the sake of change.
By changing the formula every once in a while. So this is sort of the idea there. And so the plan was, okay, let's do 2 raids this time. And then as we built it out, one of our leading counter designers said, actually, I've got an idea. What if we did 3? And so we made it work and found this a way to add the Dream Rift raid.
He said and add the Dream Rift raid. Okay, so that's really interesting. So they were planning on doing the 2 raids, which is like the first 6 bosses, and then they were going to delay and do the other 2. And he said the one that they added when someone had an idea later was actually to add the 3rd raid, which was the single boss raid that goes with the first one. That's okay. So that means that they were kind of set on these delayed releases to begin with. That's the part I want to hear him talk about.
In as well. Now, as far as splitting things up kind of time-wise and why they're staggered, this is a function of story. This is because it.
Okay. I mean, obviously it could still play out well, but I would have loved personally to hear, like, the reason they're split up is for this really cool reason that, like, we're trying this. We're trying to release the, like, bosses for the people first, and you guys can have all your free loot, and then, like, we're releasing these bangers later. I can't always get what you want, but yeah, okay. So it's for some shit that I don't care about, which is fine.
Has nothing to do, like is mentioned, with add-ons. It's more to do with the adoption of story mode raids as something which we really just started dabbling with in the last expansion in the War Within, as a way to take the content that happens in a raid and allow players, even players who don't step into any difficulty of raid, to be able to see the story that happens there. And we saw some really good success with that. A lot of folks choosing to hop into story mode raids and see the story there. And so we said, well, we've got some really cool twists and turns. I should say, for those of you who are looking into like data mining information, which will be coming out, or if you're able to hop in the alpha, there's reasons we haven't really talked about the boss lists of the story raids we have here, the Void Spire and the March on Goldenos, and that's because there are some spoilers in terms of who those bosses are. So if you want to if you want to look, go ahead, please hop in and see who you'll be fighting and learn the mechanics and whatnot. But if you want to save yourself some of the story twists and turns, maybe keep those under wraps. And those spoiler bosses have names, which are the final boss is called the Crown of the Cosmos of the Void Spire, specifically so we're not spoiling those who don't want to know who you're actually going to be fighting there. But nevertheless, there's some really cool story opportunities that come from splitting up the story from that first raid, and then some stuff happens, and then we finally have that conclusion or that denouement of.
It's not something I care about. I know people care about it. There's another half of this question. I'm just interested in what their difficulty intentions are for the 3 raids. Because, like, what kind of makes sense in the word on the street is that the last 2 are supposed to be crazy. Or those are supposed to be the last 2 bosses, right? I just want to hear them say that.
2 additional raid bosses a couple weeks later.
I think stuff happens has been the common thread.
He's about to talk about it soon. Okay, so now we're spoiling. He's sitting here talking about steps they're taking to not spoil, and now you guys are spoiling.
It's been said to me by so many of you guys. Maria has used it on me so many times. Xalatath is attacking the Sunwell for reasons, because stuff is going on, and it's all going to work.
Yeah, I mean, it's important to note that while we are in the closing season of the War Within is not over. We're at 11.2.0 right now, and we can expect some 11.2 point somethings to happen. We already know about 2.5 coming along the line, and so there will be additional.
We
stuff
already won,
happens
big guy.
that happens in between now, even now, and the stuff that you're able to see and start playing in alpha.
Is there something you're really excited about? Is a much more story-focused World of Warcraft, where
Nah,
it's trying
ask-
to get
ask
those
the-
players
no,
to
no,
like,
no,
this story is great. We think it's going to be good, and now to the point where we're staggering raids for story reasons. Are you seeing an uptake in people caring about the spoilers? We want to enjoy this more compared to what we've seen in the past, certainly.
I don't know yet. This sort of putting a spoiler in a raid is new. I'm sort of curious to see how folks respond to that. And this is the type of thing that like we do want to try things which are different, try things that are risky and dangerous to mix up the presentation of a WoW expansion and give people a different experience. And so we're going to see how people respond to this, and maybe what that ends up meaning is some future raids do have more story connotations. Maybe it means is like, no, well, the raids will be more of a spur off the main story. A good example of this was the first raid of last expansion, where you're fighting against the Nerubian Queen. The main thread of the story was actually completed in quests when you have Illyria fighting against Zalatath and whatnot. That was separate from what happened in the raid. The raid was still very important, but it wasn't load-bearing story that led into what happened in Undermine and whatnot. And so we'll see how folks respond to that. I think that we
sounds like there's a little bit more
really
at the
cool
end.
fantasy game, and anytime we can inject some interesting, cool story into that fantasy that gets people excited and invested in the world, invested in the characters, invested in their characters' involvement in it is a positive thing. And so we'll keep shooting for that whenever we can.
So on the other hand, though, we should expect the difficulty across these raids, even while staggered, to be similar. Mythic in the early raids will be similar to the difficulty of Mythic later, even though we've had some gearing up process.
Yeah, this is something we're gonna test out as we move through the testing process as well. So that for that first kind of group of 7 bosses, you will have the 6 bosses of Voidspire, which will have a progression similar to what you would seen in a 8 boss raid in the last couple of expansions or last couple seasons.
Okay, so we're getting like a 7 boss raid, or I guess Voidspire is literally a 6 boss raid. So they're saying that's going to have a normal difficulty progression as okay, so we're just getting 2 progressions.
That one boss that is in the Dream Rift is going to be somewhere in the middle, of the.
Okay, so that's not one of the harder bosses. It's not a single, but like okay, the last like boss or 2 of Voidspire will be like challenging.
And maybe it's 3rd or 4th most difficult. We'll see, and we do expect folks who are playing through that season, especially folks who are playing through Race of World first, to want to complete the entirety of those 7 bosses. The latter 2 will be harder, largely because you'll have gear by that point, and so for it to be a satisfying experience, it just doesn't fall over in one pull. You want to have a satisfying number of pulls.
Well, you're gonna have gear at that point, but gear doesn't really matter because like we're gonna have everyone's gonna have the gear by that point to do the raid, so it's gonna be gear and like difficulty are like kind of intertwined. Like they make it as hard as it's going to be for the gear that you have. That's how the race works. That's how the last 2 bosses work exactly. They literally make it as exactly hard as they can make it for the gear that you have. So like interesting.
The achievement means something. That will be a bit harder. I would say that first boss of those 2, the one that's testable on Alpha right now, Beleren, would maybe not be as hard as the final boss of Voidspire, but that last one.
Oh, okay. So it's like, okay, so there's 9 bosses, and the second to last boss is going to be at the end of the first raid, and the last boss is there 2 weeks later. But like probably the first boss will be like interesting. That's so. I mean, I'm kind of glad that's the case, because like a scenario where the first raid just gets shit on, and the second raid, let's just say the second raid is an amazing Race to World First. The last 2 bosses is pretty much what every Race to World First is anyway, like actually. And let's say it was just an amazing Race to World First. I think its viewership would be terrible because it's starting 3 weeks after the season. That's just, the hype is just like, people are, I mean, I can tell you exactly what happened. We kind of saw it in Sepulchre, but like for sure the care level would go down for the bosses that actually mattered. So this is good then. Okay. And it's the other 2 that take the real time. Yeah, okay. I mean, I still think this is going to be fucking weird. Especially because we're probably not going to be at an event. You know, we're not going to fly to the event for the first raid and then fly home and then fly back. We're probably not going to do anything, I imagine. Like, I don't know how you could. So, it's going to kind of suck for us. But that doesn't always mean it's the worst thing for the game. But we'll see. I mean, obviously, the bosses could be great, which is really kind of all we care about. But we also like keeping our jobs.
Should be the exclamation point at the end of Season 1.
That's very exciting, Paul. Thank you very much. That's great.
Certainly. Yeah.
My last stuff for you before you have to go is about housing.
Okay. So I'm going to skip that. I do have the best house of anyone here, I believe, though, just on that note. Someone said Megaset did an interview, and you guys were hype about it. But I can't tell if it was actually a good interview or if you guys actually like... You guys just like Megaset a lot. Like, anytime Megaset comes up, you guys are like, yay! Yay! My goat! Right? So, like, I can't tell if it's actually a good interview if you guys just are fans, you know? JB is there. Holy shit, he's bald, man. Actually, he's got some hair. Look at that. They have the quest designer and the prey system badge. I think the prey system might be kind of cool. Guy's got a hell of a mustache. Holy fuck. And then the elite encounter designer. I don't know if I'm familiar with Dylan. I don't know if I've met Dylan. I met a bunch of the counter dudes at last BlizzCon. I don't know if I met Dylan. Okay. Are there timestamps on the questions? There are not. That's tragic. Did someone make them? They did not. This is going to be a lot harder to do because we're not watching all of it. Let's just get into it.
All right. I hope everyone is having a good morning. My name is Meg or Megaset. I'm joined with Elsmere and with J.B. and Noah Smith and Dylan Barker.
Imagine it's going to be pretty Mythic Plus focused. Those are all some Mythic Plus men.
Who you are and what you do.
Oh, they're all healers too. Maybe healer focused.
Sure.
I mean,
yeah. I'm
honestly,
Dylan Barker. I'm one of the lead encounter designers
big
on mainline
topic.
WoW. Been with the company about 11 years, making dungeons, raids, and some outdoor zones.
It's unfortunate they couldn't get a class designer on for this because obviously I think they would all have some healer questions, but like these people just simply will not be able to answer that.
My name's Noah Smith. I'm a quest designer on mainline WoW. A lot of quest design and a lot of feature work. And
Is that what Blizzard calls retail?
Currently feature owner for the Prey system in Midnight. Cool.
Right. So we have a collection of questions today regarding, I think, mostly PvE, and given our experience, it is mostly coming from a healer perspective as well. If JB or Elsmere, if you guys have any specific questions that you want to ask from what we have, feel free. Otherwise, I was just going to kind of go down the list.
3 people is a lot for an interview. That's only usually 30 minutes long.
To me.
Sounds good.
I think that works, yeah.
So yesterday, with the Midnight Alpha starting, we got a sneak peek into the Season 1 dungeon pool for Midnight. Some of these dungeons are returning from much earlier in the game's history. So outside of the community voting, how do you decide which dungeons to bring back? Is it mostly story-based, or is it something else?
There's a whole bunch of factors that go into that, and it's kind of a fun process because we start thinking, what a player's not seen for a while? What are things that we've done in recent expansions where it's like, oh, we had a dungeon kind of like that many years ago? It's sometimes texture for the way that you route through the space. We want to have something that's not linear, and a bunch of things we made recently are linear, so we want to go back and do something a little bit crazier. But then sometimes it's just theme, and you can see like, this is a patch that features a lot of mechanical units and sort of those sorts of monsters and themes. Oh yeah, we have something that kind of fits nicely. So there's a big mix of considerations.
All right.
Someone said, what they should ask is, what do players want? Better to ask, what do players want to see? You think it would have been better to ask the designers, hey guys, what do you think players want? It's such a weird.
And then kind of
they'd be like,
following
well,
up with that, we have seen, you know, like I'd mentioned, dungeons that are pretty old compared to more modern design. How do you decide which parts of dungeons or returning dungeons get updated to better fit the modern dungeon design?
The cool thing is that the folks really doing most of that work play Mythic Plus obsessively. So a good part of it is just tasting the soup and being like, nah, that tastes old. I don't like it. And that's not to say that it didn't hold up for its time and place, but you know, WoW has done well over the years by evolving and by developing to the tastes of the players that it continues to bring in and keep. So when we look at an old fight, if it's just not engaging by modern standards, if it isn't visually descriptive or spectacular enough by modern standards, we do feel pretty free to go in there and edit, and we try to keep the soul of the thing intact as often as possible, and sometimes to just reinterpret it. So you get that sort of spectrum from something that feels like a light touch that just keeps the thing intact, all the way to we're going to fully re-envision this, but the same creature is going to persist.
I like that. Thank you. Tasting the soup is good.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I think that dovetails nicely into the next question that we had, which was that when you're reworking those dungeons, how much has dungeon design like changed over time? You know, obviously we've got Mythic Plus now, and a lot of these returning dungeons were originally made.
I can already tell young Noah Smith here is going to get just absolutely no questions thrown his way. Because, like, really, just what these three players care about is pretty, you know, they're obviously all healers, but they all care about high-end WoW. That is their shit for sure, right? Which largely does not include quest designers. But usually when they give you these interviews, you don't choose who you're talking to. They're like, hey, Megaset, would you like to interview these two people? And they say yes, right? And then usually what you try to do, what I've tried to do in the past, because I've had like a quest designer in one of my interviews before as well, is you try to just give them something, you know, because it feels really bad to just leave them there, because it's like it's not anyone's fault really, other than maybe whoever set up this interview. And I could be wrong, by the way. Maybe they have some banger questions for Noah, but I think these people down here usually don't. If they're gonna have 30 minutes with devs, they're not gonna ask about quests in an ideal scenario, right? So I'm interested to see how that plays out, but hopefully they throw him a bone.
That was not a consideration. Has there been a lot of updates in the way that the team approaches dungeon design, or is it just kind of been iterative from that point?
Do good job for Noah though, because Noah's not. I mean, Noah maybe plays a lot of Mythic Plus himself. He's just like a quest designer, but he's doing a good job of being engaged and nodding and listening, even though these questions are like totally out of at least the scope of what his job is.
I think if you look at it over a long history, we've been moving in a direction. Is really good at that, by the way. I think expansion over expansion, I think iterative is a good way to think of it. I personally made my first dungeon in BFA. So I think about how we did things then versus how we do things now. It was a little bit more Wild West. I think we had a little bit less of a well-rounded understanding of like what Mythic Plus trash meta really should feel like. And we've kind of grown into that as we grow into it as players, as the community starts to tell us what they do and don't like. So it's in the short term, again, iterative, and over the long haul, I think we've been sort of moving in a direction of sort of making things more readable, more understandable, and sort of tailoring to what specs and players are demonstrating they're capable of.
Well, I think you guys have done a good job on that in that respect. Definitely.
Before we go on, I want to address something that someone said in chat. Someone said, "Get whoever made Mauve Souls back, pulling from start to first boss with uncapped AoE." I just want to point out that it's so funny how like the only reason people think that is because the meta to farm artifact power was doing like the lowest keys possible and doing those pulls. But if you judge the dungeons based on how they play at high keys, which is by the way what everyone does now. Right, like anytime you see any of these three people's takes on here at the bottom about dungeons, it is exactly how those dungeons play at the very highest possible key level and nothing below that. And if people did that for Mauve Souls, you would think it's the worst dungeon ever. Mauve Souls was terrible on high keys. You couldn't pull fucking anything. You were not doing large uncapped AoE. You were scared for your life the whole fucking time pulling like 3 mobs. So like, It's like the exact opposite of what people actually remember it by, just because of the artifact power farming.
Some of the mechanics do feel much better telegraphed these days, I think.
Yeah, to pick up on that, like that's, I think, a big part with obviously add-on disarmament being something Ian's been talking about.
This is a smile from Noah. It's at this point where he realizes, I'm not going to get to talk about quests at all. And he's right.
It puts the burden on us as encounter designers to tell more of the story and the mechanic in the game world, to make it more clear, like, what's going to happen. Are you reacting appropriately to this thing? If it kills you, why did it kill you? And we're usually pretty good at that. It's just in a world where you also have, let's say, cybernetic enhancements helping you, it sort of gets lost in the sauce as a mutual dance between us and like add-on makers. So it's going to be cool to have us like put more focus on having the thing play out in the world, having players read game state based on what they're seeing in the world with their allies, and sort of make decisions from there.
Yeah, I appreciate that a lot. You had mentioned
no editing, fucking just raw dogging it onto YouTube.
Kind of
that goes crazy.
Dungeon design changing based on how players have improved over time. Something that has come up a lot recently, and that I think maybe more as a modern player, is the difference or the impact of healer DPS and whether or not it is important or impactful. People that maybe grew up playing a different version of the game don't want a DPS if they're a healer because they want to heal.
So I don't think really either of them can kind of answer this question well.
So is healer damage something that you would tune around or design around, and is it something you want to consider for success?
Maybe the encounter designer, but I feel like there's going to be like no answer.
Level of impact that we provide.
I think broadly not, and I can't speak for necessarily class team intent, but when I'm balancing an encounter, we're not treating healer DPS as the make or break for dungeons or for raids. It's something that players are going to do to optimize. It's cool that they get to do that, and the exact ratio that players do that at is not something that we're necessarily tuning around.
Which is also fine. Like, they wouldn't tune. Why would you tune around for people who don't do it? It's more like you should gain an advantage if you do choose to do it. Plus, it's not like, oh, well, every boss is easy because they don't tune for healer damage and all the healers are doing damage. It's like, well, certainly you're going to get to a key level where like that it's going to be hard anyway, right? So I don't know if it really matters.
Okay.
Is it a thing? Can you speak at all to whether there is an attempt to balance healer damage?
How can he possibly answer this? None of them work on class design.
Or is that a thing that's largely kind of derivative of the rest of the class? That wherever it ends up is where it ends up, or is there an attempt to get them all to the same place?
I can't speak eloquently to that. I wish I could.
It's not his job. What do you mean?
Okay.
Now, so sometimes what is nice with these interviews is you can send in your questions ahead of time, and what's really good about that, especially if you're talking to someone like Ian or Morgan, who does not have their boots on the ground working on each of these individual things. So if you're asking a hyper-specific question, something Ian might do is like, I have this interview tomorrow. I might go talk to this person who works on this to have the best possible answer for this question, because I don't actually know. Right? If they sent their questions in ahead of time, what might have been able to happen is maybe Dylan could have spoken to some of the class design people and been like, hey, they have this question, how do you handle this? And they could have given them some kind of answer maybe. But I don't know if they do that for... It sounded like at the beginning, Megaset said, JB and Ellesmere, you can ask whatever questions you want. So maybe it was more YOLO'd. But yeah, I mean, I don't understand how he was otherwise supposed to answer that question.
I think one question I had, especially as an HPAL, and I know Meg was curious about it as well as a Mistweaver, is about being a melee healer. So there's been a lot of instances and fights.
This is a good question for an encounter designer, actually, because it is actually still not entirely clear, like, when things go on melee or ranged or healers, like, sometimes Mistweavers and Holy Paladins are either both one of or neither included in things like that where other people are because of their melee restriction, and it's very genuinely confusing. It's very weird. It's like it almost seems like it's a mistake every time it happens.
Where melee healers have been disproportionately negatively affected by being considered melee while also being a healer. And also vice versa. There are some fights where like we're considered ranged or we're considered healers even though we're melee, and then some mechanics are not necessarily intuitive because of that. Our healing being reliant on melee uptime can cause like significantly harder encounters based on design due to that. And I'm just wondering if
God bless Noah just nodding along like, yes, I understand. And he's just like, bro,
there's a
this is
chance we
not
could
my
see
job.
more healers
What a beast.
excluded from mechanics, specifically melee healers, or is that just kind of how the nature of the beast?
So there's two parts here. The first part about like excluding from targeting is something that I don't want to get into as like we're definitely going to do or not do something like that. It's definitely an interesting consideration, and it's something that we'd have to work with the class team on, because to some extent the amount of engagement that the class is providing might be based in part by the expectation that they have this much to worry about as a class and this much to worry about as an encounter. So
yeah, I mean, like for example, let's say you have a boss like Soul Hunters, which has a debuff that can only go on ranged players. How do you as a designer decide whether healing paladins or healing monks should be assigned that? Because both healer paladin and monk are supposed to have like pure caster variants, right? Or maybe not pure, but like mostly, to where like should they be involved in something like this or should they not? Because they can't change it based on what talents you're playing. Maybe they could, actually. That would be crazy smart. Like if you were playing a melee build, it just didn't do it, and if you're a ranged one, you did. Because there's some fights where you actually want to get picked by those things. Like it actually makes the fight easier for you, or it makes your job easier, or it makes your job harder by getting it, right? And there's no way to really know that from a designer's point of view. So I don't really know how they handle it other than like, because like other healers can get it, and maybe healers, it's a mechanic that healers want to have, right? Like there are often mechanics where you can get a dot, and it's actually kind of nice to have your healer have this dot because healers do a lot of self-healing. It's actually, healers are usually one of the very best. Like you're going to leave a dot on a player and you can choose who it is. Healers are like really fucking good at that. And it's just the easiest thing to heal in the raid because you get so much free healing out of it. But then like if they made them not get picked, then it would be maybe bad. They would be bad classes for the fight because they're healers who can't get picked. And then if they make them get picked, maybe it's like, oh, well, now it's annoying to be in melee. So I actually think it's really complicated.
Putting that aside, I think one thing that's definitely going to help for players just looking at how encounters are built, things that do frontals are going to be more deliberate, and we're going to move mostly to a world where creatures that do cones and that sort of thing should have, as we would use the design term, more affordance. That is a thing they can do. And as like a test for the word affordance, we'll say something like, if I show you a dragon as a WoW player, everybody expects it to breathe. Maybe those who've been playing a lot longer expect it to tail swipe at the other end. These are things that are just sort of presumed to be something that this creature could reasonably do. And some of that's contributed to just by it being a dragon. But then there are other things where it's like, well, I kind of get it if a basilisk does a cone. What visual properties of a basilisk make sense for it to do it? Well, it's large, it's kind of wide, it takes up the kind of space that it feels right. It's something we'd spawn fewer of, and we'd make things a little bit more clear that this is the one that does the frontal in the pack, as opposed to having a couple of different mobs doing it and it just kind of becomes chaos. Fewer, more intentional frontals, I think, is going to make that overall easier for folks who are in melee and maybe have other responsibilities.
That was a fucking... I didn't pause or stop during any of that because that was just a very insightful answer. That was really cool. And that's really not even kind of what they were asking. That was just like really, really informative. I don't really have much to comment on it. That's interesting.
Cool. I love that. And
Yeah,
I guess
that's
to tie into that in terms of like the visual clarity, we've had a lot of major system changes to Mplus in the past expansion, including obviously the big visual graphic overhaul where things became much easier to see. We also had, resilient keys. We had the affix overhaul. Are there any new major Mplus changes or systems like that we can look forward to coming in Midnight?
No.
So nothing huge on that sort of systemic level. And my background is predominantly in the crafting of the content itself. So on that front, I think one thing I'm most excited about is just changing our trash philosophy to make things more apparent. There's a couple of sort of subtle techniques that
super necessary with less add-ons too.
We're doing there. Some of it is not necessarily doing less overall throughout trash, but concentrating the more complicated, robust, and dangerous creatures into fewer but like more strategically placed spawns. Also just making sure that some things which don't need to be a cast bar are not a cast bar, so that the things that are a cast bar
Yes, even Noah agrees. Look at this nodding.
become very clear.
Dude.
These are the things that you probably
Noah.
need to have some communication about how to kick, especially understanding that to some extent with add-ons being reduced, we may be looking at players needing to verbally communicate this or communicate via macro for the first time in
This
a
is really smart.
long
This
time.
guy's great.
We want that to be something that's a little bit more manageable than maybe it would feel right now, where there are more bars and you're sort of sifting through how do I manage this lot.
So I guess then would you
great
say
answer.
if there was
This is great. Why are you guys fucking dobby about this interview? Past two questions that have been given to him that actually pertain to what he does has been extremely insightful and really fucking smart too. Like, you can't listen to what he just said and think that he doesn't get it. Like, as far as like what this game's gonna have to be without add-ons and stuff, and just having the game be more visually clear on what mobs are supposed to do, he's exactly right.
a major change that you're trying to make to Mythic Plus in this expansion, would it be with the expectation that add-ons are taking a step back and that we're trying to get dungeons to a more approachable place in a an add-on list or add-on light world?
I think that's right. I've sort of jokingly described it as we're just taking away cybernetic enhancements. Players are still really, really good at
Bro, is cybernetic enhancements like add-on combat support? Is that... I think that's what he's referring to, right? Like, that's just a crazy fucking thing to...
the game, and they're going to learn things very quickly, and they're going to develop a culture around how certain things get defeated.
Fucking
And
cybernetic
I
enhancements.
think leaving some space in Midnight for the community to sort of figure that out, as opposed to trying to like do a major systemic change that we're definitely announcing right now, which we're not, helps us to provide that space, because, you know, we're taking a big swing here as far as how the game is going to feel without a Whoah barking at you in a particular way. And then, of course, if folks who are more in-depth day-to-day with the actual inner workings of the Mythic Plus system are looking between now and launch and want to make a change, I'm sure at that point we'll communicate.
My goat.
Kind of along the same lines there, where you were talking about reducing the volume of asks and just kind of complexity of trash packs. One of the most common issues with Mythic Plus that we hear from people is the pugging environment and being able to coordinate within those really complicated pulls. But it sounds like that is being addressed through just reducing that clutter. Is there any other improvements on that front in Midnight, like for active tools in the dungeon, for handling kicks, or for social aspects like LFG updates?
You know what we should do? There's 2 dungeons on the alpha right now. After this, I'm almost level 81. You have to level to 81 to do the dungeons, which seems like maybe kind of a goof, but as far as a testing environment, if I can find 4 other people, I would like to actually just go through the dungeon and actually see if the dungeon feels like they've thought about what he's saying.
That we could expect to see?
I know of some that are in the works. I'm not sure to what degree they've been discussed. I think it is a constant need for us to make it easier and better to get a group. And I think we're constantly looking at tools we can give to players in the wake of add-on disarmament that might help better communicate game state. A lot of that, as an encounter designer, is pretty straightforwardly, I make the monster show you what it's intending to do and tell you whether it's working or not when you're trying to counter it. As far as broader gameplay, like showing cooldown state and all that, like that's something I can't elegantly speak to, but I can definitely say, like, we are going to be playing a ton of it internally. We do a lot of playtesting, and as we start to feel the lack of a thing, I'm sure we'll start putting on the schedule ways to address it.
Yeah, that's all.
Come on, lock in Noah. Get a Noah question here.
Awesome. And then I'd also like to ask, and this could actually play into the prey system as well. I'm not super familiar with the prey system, but I am interested in it.
Dude, that's so funny.
So I am curious.
The way both of them just reacted. Dude, Dylan literally pog-champed when he realized that Noah was going to get to speak once during this
I'd also
interview.
like to ask, and this could actually play into the prey system as well. I'm not super familiar with the prey system, but I am interested in it. So I am curious, with rewards for PvE as a whole, how intentional is the incentivization to do both keys and raid to get?
They're not going to... Wrong. I hope they give a good answer, but the people to answer what she is asking are neither of these people's jobs.
At your best in slot.
So I'm not a rewards designer, so I hate to be boring and say like I can't speak entirely to their intent. I can say like in general, I think people on the team want you to try everybody's stuff. Everybody makes really fun stuff. It'll segue nicely into Prey. I can set Noah up by saying like I want there to be an excuse for players who play high-end gameplay to, while they're waiting for a group to come on, go in and do some stuff in the outdoor world that maybe wasn't appealing to them, which maybe is, even if not because it's mega rewarding, but just because it's like a fun excuse to get out and explore. So yeah.
Yeah, I can definitely follow up on that and say the impetus behind the Prey system as an opt-in kind of overlay outdoor world system is we're kind of not pushing it on anyone. If you just want to stick in Mythic Plus, you're sticking rating, or just if you love delves, we're really intentful to offer kind of an alternative path via Prey, a complementary path to say the delve loop. But we're definitely not associating player power with it. And you know, if all you want to do is be really good at Mythic Plus, and like Dylan was saying, you know, you have downtime, you want to do world quests for stuff anyway, jump into Prey mode. You know, it'll make you kind of, you know, pay a little bit more attention than you otherwise might in the outdoor world, especially if you're a certain kind of player at a certain kind of skill level. But you know, I think right now we are actively thinking as a team about, you know, an ecosystem of multiple different things the player could be doing rather than a specific optimized path to any specific rewards vector, as someone who's not a rewards designer.
Dude, I just got gifted 50 subs. Why? From someone who's gifted 0 subs in the channel. What a fucking monster. Was that because Noah spoke? Did you just like hear Noah speak and you were just filled with such enthusiasm that you're like, fuck it, I'm gifting? Are they for him? Like, should I give them to him?
Is there anything about the Prey system that you are particularly excited for players to get into?
Oh,
or
another back-to-back Noah question?
Kind of see how things develop further.
Yeah, I mean, gosh, I think as more info comes out about the system, and I'm the entire Prey team is just so excited to see kind of how different kinds of players react to it when we do drop it in alpha. It really is a recontextualization of the outdoor world. You know, we talk about, you know, the world being a big part of World of Warcraft.
You better slam another 50, my guy.
But we have so much of our end game loop is instanced, you know, whether it's delves or whether it's dungeons or raids. Prey is really, you know, we're trying to accomplish several things. One of the biggest things is to just say to any kind of player, like, hey, there's stuff worth doing in the outdoor world, and we can offer you new and immersive challenge while you're doing it. Yeah, so very excited for that, to throw that.
Yeah, Prey system probably isn't for me, but that's okay.
In front of all kinds of players.
That's awesome.
I'm curious, you know, we had the in this patch we had the Kaiveza encounter, and I'm curious how much that seemed to be very well received by the community. I think everybody was doing that. This the first week of this patch. Is the Prey system going to be? Does that feel like a spiritual sort of successor to that kind of encounter?
I can let Dylan speak to the encounter design specifically. I will say for the Prey system, we are trying to incorporate a lot more kind of outdoor mechanics in the similar vein, and this is where kind of I'll lean on Dylan's expertise, where we're leveraging in terms of balance a lot more on kind of player knowledge and reaction and prioritization, as opposed to just flat damage checks. Both in the outdoor gameplay, we're designing on the quest side, but I'll let Dylan speak more to the encounter design.
It's not going to be hard, is the translation.
At higher
dude,
difficulties.
More fit. Yo,
yeah, I would say
dude, W Noah gifts.
Come to that level where Kaiveza was for Prey. We'll definitely continue to do the sort of seasonal Delves boss because they're super fun.
goat.
It was actually really cool to see this first week where all the hardcore players were like, this is the thing to do. And like some of the joking about doing that first was really fun. So
I guess one follow-up on the prey question is,
Let's
will
fucking go.
the prey system get out-geared? Like, as we get, like,
Yeah, bro,
really,
the
really,
prey
really
system is
strong
not gonna be
gear
hard.
towards, like, you know, mythic raiders who end up full best in slot, like, is it just going to be trivialized, or is the scaling, does it scale really high?
So as the system kind of, takes its final shape and we're putting...
Wait, so JNXZ has never gifted a sub before, but they have been following since March of this year. Wait, what? You've been following since March of this year, but you've been tier 1 subbed for 55 months. How were you subbed for me for like, you subbed to me for like years? Or maybe it was an unfollow refollow. Oh, damn. Alright, well, W either way. My goat. Truly my goat. What did I do? What did I do in March?
We're getting
of
a
this
ton
year?
of kind of later stage feedback, and all of our tuning considerations.
Dude, subbing to someone but not following them is like, I think it goes hard that that's a hill you're willing to die on.
It's kind of fallen under that bucket. We don't want to write any specific checks right now. However, I will say that there is a sense of we have, Prey is pivotively built around kind of skill expression, and there is an extent to which a core part of skill expression is being able to take your competency to other parts of the game. If you're a very good raider, if you're pushing high keys and you have awesome gear and you know your class, it should feel great when you step into a nightmare prey and you're just like, I got this on lockdown. You're not going to feel that that quickly in the expansion. I can almost guarantee that. But there is an understanding here where, because we want to maintain and kind of boost up the fidelity of the outdoor world and that multiplayer experience, a huge part of that is being able to go to your friend circle or your guildies or whoever you're with and be like, yeah, look at me, I'm geared out, I know what's up, I can carry you through that nightmare prey hunt, no problem.
Cool.
That's exciting.
All right. Well, I think that got us through our list of questions. I think we got about 5 minutes left. I guess we'll do the thing. Was there anything you wanted us to ask you that we didn't ask that you wanted to talk about?
Underrated great interview question, because usually people do have things they want to get out. I've even had like Ian or Morgan later in interviews just be like, so you haven't asked about this yet, but I'm going to announce this on your interview right now. And it's like, oh shit, here we go. Right? They usually do have stuff that they want to, I mean, if you think about it, like if Blizzard's PR is saying yes to interviews, if they're scheduling a bunch of interviews, it's usually because they want to get a message out, and usually that's just a way to market it. So like, this is something that should be in more interviews, basically. It's good that they're doing this.
Dylan, you want to take that first?
Maybe not.
Oh man, I think I'm probably just excited for individual dungeons that I've gotten to play a small part in as folks were sort of coming in and taking them over and making them real. This is just from the background of just like somebody who likes making combat spaces that feel alive, and also the creatures are really rooted in the fantasy of the place that they're in. So I've called this out in another interview, but like having a dungeon in Murder Row where that is a place where players have like really keen expectations about like the kind of place it ought to have been, but also like it's not a place that had a lot of like robust like energy and such put into it in the game, aside from just sort of NPC spawning. So getting a story and a vibe of this is this place, a snapshot in time from all of the danger of midnight. What's it like to be in the seedy underbelly of this city while that's going on? I think it's just a really fun proposition. Also, I've done some pretty cool stuff mechanically in there that I think, players are going to find at least charming and hopefully really cool. So,
nice.
Yeah, I think for Prey, as more information comes out, and once again, we're so excited to kind of see players hit it as it is unlocked later in the alpha. It is kind of contrary to previous expansions, it is not a new thing to do. It is a new way to experience the outdoor world, full stop. Like, it is a transformative overlay system that really changes how you interact with the world. And we are just so excited to see kind of what that looks like when it hits players' hands. Like, the kind of emergent gameplay opportunities, the war mode implications, the final tuning between hard mode and nightmare mode. This really has been kind of a labor of love on all of our on all of everyone involved in the Prey team. We are so passionate about putting character and intentionality. In the past, if you're a pretty good player, the outdoor world can feel like a little bit of a second screen kind of activity while you have like YouTube up and you're just doing your role quests. So we're just going to be like, nope, pay attention, sit up straight in your chair and lock in.
Interesting.
That's kind of what I'm really, really looking forward to.
Lock in, Noah. Yes.
That's really cool.
So true.
I did I did have a few short follow-up questions about add-ons and weak auras and stuff specifically for Dylan.
This
just
could be
to kind of, from a healer perspective, one of the things that add-ons and weak auras did that was really important for us in Mythic Plus and has been really important for us for a long time is targeted spells. Basically, targeted spells is like when we see on our party frames that a player is being targeted by a spell, we are able to preemptively either prep our hots on that player or give them a shield or whatever it might be before they get hit by this big damage event. And I'm just wondering,
that's a good question.
Is there plans for the UI for the base UI to incorporate some type of targeted spell on party frame system for healers?
Well, he's not going to be able to talk about what party frames are going to be able to do, I don't think. But I believe nameplates do show you this. So I guess if the nameplate is showing you it, it could show up on your frames, I guess, via an add-on, like if it's going to be restricted. Good question.
Yeah, I think the biggest chunk of effective change that's going to hit that is, like I was saying before, the shift to a more intentional set of cast bars and to having some things sort of clearing themselves out of the idea of being a cast bar and just having them function more directly. I think a lot of what you're describing there is this thing, which is not dangerous on a 4 or a 6, becomes instantly lethal should it resolve on a 14 or a 16 or higher. In those cases, I think just allowing those more cognitive space, along with like changes from the class team, making classes a little bit more readable and playable, is going to hopefully give players the opportunity to say, okay, I actually can internalize this now, as opposed to there's enough going on between class and the number of mobs and abilities that the only way I could possibly do this is if I also had a cybernetic enhancement telling me on screen, please do this. So
yeah. Okay, cool.
Bro, how are they just straight facing him calling that shit cybernetic enhancement?
My last question was just about raid buffs. Raid buffs have had a pretty significant impact on the Mplus meta for a while now.
I don't blame them. I don't think a few of them I have either ever done like a dev interview or whatever, and these are questions I think they wish were asked more, even though I think they're asked like literally every time. And they're like, I gotta get this question in if we have extra time, but like there's just no like how are they going to answer this?
And while the Mplus meta is kind of something that people often associate just with like that high-end competitive community, it does trickle down a lot into lower keys as well. And the raid buffs specifically in Mplus have caused specs with great throughput and utility to struggle to get invited to keys because they don't necessarily bring one of the strong damage ones. And this often disproportionately affects healers and tanks who are then pigeonholed into building raid buffs around the strong DPS, the DPS that are like broken for that specific tier. How does the team feel about raid buffs in Mythic Plus, and also just the balance of raid buffs in general? You have some raid buffs that are damage and some that are DR and some that are utility.
Hopefully
but
they give
obviously
a good answer.
The community values those differently, so I'm curious how you feel about that.
First off, it's awesome that the community has that sort of internal sense of valuation. Like, when we provide a slate of content and classes and etc., like it's just, in a lot of ways, it's for all of y'all to play with and to sort of determine the best setup. So when I think about this question, it's less, this is strictly problematic. And I think if you were talking to a class designer, you'd probably get a more robust set of answers on the other side of this. As somebody who has built a lot of encounters for players to fight against, I'm more looking at, am I giving you a robust enough set of challenges that everybody at some point gets to feel cool? And then maybe from a data side, am I seeing success rates up until a certain point? Because beyond a certain point, people are sort of stripping all the weight off the car and going as fast as they can recklessly, right? Up to a certain point, are we seeing that every spec can play? And we generally do see that, but as you say, the best players in the world set the tone. That tone absolutely passes down as people try to improve. There's something very noble about that. I don't think it's necessarily something that I have any say in as far as how that's going to change or whatever. I think perhaps right now, just the best way to say
Ellesmere looks angry.
We want to make sure we're...
Does he? Looks like he's just looking down. Oh, right there. Yeah, he kind of looks like he's had a rough go of it recently. Let me rewind a little bit.
It's necessarily
look
something
at him. He's kind of
that I have any say in as far as how that's going to change or whatever. I think perhaps right now, just the best way to say is we want to make sure we're providing the tools and the challenge, and hopefully players have a good time sorting out how that fits.
Cool. Thank you.
I hit him with a thank you. I mean, if you're purely looking at the facial, he wasn't actually giving a facial expression. It was just he's just sitting there. But it'd be funny if at the end, he instead of saying thanks, he was like, fuck.
Have a good time sorting out how that fits.
Cool. Thank you.
All right. Well, I think that wraps it up. So Noah, Dylan, thank you for you guys' time.
Yeah, thank you guys so much. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for talking with us. I appreciate it.
Cool. That was fine.
Totally. Lovely.
Nice. All right. Any other interviews while we're here that you guys feel like are insightful about something I would care about that we haven't already heard? I know there's a lot of them, right? You put like 8 in the Discord. All right, let me browse then. What do we have here? We have Maria Hamilton and Paul Cubitt dev interview with Nobble. All right, let's just browse some timestamps. And if they don't have timestamps, we'll push it till later. Cool. So Dimensius last Void Ward, can skip that. Why did Dimensius eat Koresh? Can obviously skip that. Why did the Titans of Avaros? Can skip that. DK Rune Forging in our house and whether utilities don't care. Collecting multiple pieces of furniture don't care. 2 players, same plot. In-game cinematics, new stories. What's the starting event for Midnight? Increase the open world difficulty. No. No, none of that. Okay. That's fine. All good. No issue with that. I'll just not all the interviews are going to be for me, but it's nice I could quickly go through it and find that out. Okay, Mr. Gim. How to get to the Argentina. Don't care. Will be evergreen. Void Elf unlock. Survival Hunter weapons. Profession updates. Heirloom updates. Gearing and delves. New mount collection. Midnight pre-patch. Housing. Alpha release cadence. WoW Community Council. Okay, nothing.
Is every new week.
Cool. Alright, moving on. We have a Ellesmere one. Is this the same one, just on a different channel? Yeah. Wait, did he have timestamps? Okay. And then we have Annie, which I think we kind of watched at the time, but hopefully there's timestamps here. Class identity and homogenization, spec balancing, removing add-ons, a new design philosophy, controller accessibility, remix rewards is coming back, collector's bounty, cinnamon buns, housing, mount achievements. I think we watched most of this. All right, so nothing there. Okay, so from all of these, we've I believe we've done it, unless we're missing some. Talks about some raid design in the Cyber one. All right, Cyber. Okay, raids, dungeons, delves, prey. Dude, Dylan
So,
Noah combo. My fucking goats. Who's the target audience for prey? Value of prey at max level. Okay, raid scheduling, clear raid expectations. Ooh, yeah. How will spec simplification open up raid design? Oh, yeah. Boss visuals, sound cues, don't care. Relationship of mechanics and class rotations. Okay. How does the team feel about global release? What are they going to say about that? Any plans to modify Mythic Plus at midnight? Fixing Mythic Plus random one-shot damage. What challenges do they face with key pushers? How happy are the team with Delves and the War Within and Valyria design improvements? Okay, so you better not skip the Noah question. Yeah, he's my goat.
I'll start things off by
He's my
just
goat.
welcoming YouTube chat and everyone here for this interview. I am Sai. I am a high-end sort of Raider and Mythic Plus player, and I'm here joined today, very luckily, to be joined by Dylan Barker, the lead encounter designer for Dungeons, Raids, Delves, and Noah Smith, who's a game designer working on the Prey system, which will be a new feature in Midnight. So we're going to get into all the good juice stuff today. Dylan, do you want to... I appreciate you wouldn't mind introducing yourself
My
again.
goat,
That'd be
my
great. I mean,
goat.
obviously, anything else that you want to add from what I've just mentioned?
Yeah, I'm Dylan Barker, as you mentioned. I'm one of the encounter leads on mainline WoW.
Oh, everyone's nodding in this
Right
interview.
now,
We got
working a
3
lot on
nodders.
Delves, but I've done dungeons,
Yes.
raids, outdoor zones across almost 11 years at the company. No?
Yeah, my name's Noah. I'm future owner of Prey. I've been at the company pushing about 4 years now. Done a lot of work on Ringing Deeps in 11.0. Done a lot of work on lore walking. And now we're making Prey for everyone on Midnight.
Amazing. I think you're, what, 1 year away from getting your sword, aren't you? Your Blizzard sword.
Who's counting? But yes.
Well, amazing. So I am somebody who, like I say, am pushing high-end content, but I'm also very aware of the different types of players that we have in this game, and that different features and different parts of the content are going to attract different players. So I want to keep this interview very grounded, but also we can push into any sort of echelon that you want to go into. But I guess I'll start things off with the Prey system. So can you explain a little bit about how you expect players to interact with the Prey system? Is this something that you anticipate that every player is going to interact with this at some level, or is it going to be more so just for certain individuals?
That's a great question. Short answer is yes, in so much as we are going to offer Prey to everyone. We're going to say, hey, you've hit max level, here's the tutorial, go check this system out. We've designed Prey as an overlay system, so it's really meant to complement things that most players will want to be doing in the outdoor world anyway. You're going to want to be doing your...
Which is what? Well, what do you do in the outdoor world anyway, besides when you're questing when leveling? Like, I feel like world quests have become majorly, like...
your world quests, you're going to want to be doing your capstones. You're going to want to be, farming rares and treasures. And we're basically saying, like, Prey's a system you can opt in to do while doing any of that loop. Now, that being said, there is an element of friction inherent.
At least the beginning of the expansion.
Getting ambushed in the open world isn't really for everyone. So we've kind of addressed that by building out the difficulty levels of the feature. Once again, it's an opt-in feature, but even within the tentpole of the feature itself, you can opt into higher difficulties. So really what we're saying is we're not putting any player power behind it. We're not saying you have to absolutely grind out the maximum number of prey hunts you can per week. But if you really want to optimize your outdoor gameplay, or if you want more challenge, or if you like some of the rewards we're offering, we're very much trying to incentivize it rather than mandate it.
Excellent. Kind of similar to Delves, where it's sort of not, oh, I've got to do my 8 Delves this week. It's, I feel like going and doing a delve. I'm on my lunch break and whatnot. I want to add some.
Yes,
add some
dude,
stuff
lunch
into
and
my gameplay.
delves.
So that's great. In the Q&A yesterday, it was mentioned that Prey will actually affect the whole zone that you're questing in, and I think you kind of just referred to it there as well. What is the impact on this? Like, is this going to elevate your quests? Is this going to give you better quest rewards as well? And is this going to be similar to the Legion Remix scaling world content feature that'll be coming in that?
That's a great question. I can answer that in kind of 2 parts. The first part is, once again, we didn't want anyone to ever feel like, oh, I have to do prey. It's a Tuesday. I gotta go get my hunts. Then, like, we also didn't want it to feel like it was the most optimal way to, say, do a world quest. It shouldn't feel bad in Midnight if, like, you just want to jump to Zulaman, do a quick world quest. You shouldn't have to be like, I did that and I wasn't in a prey hunt. That's, you know, lack of efficiency or something. We didn't want to kind of engender that kind of feels bad. So, while you can do normal world quests while doing prey, you will effectively be achieving two things at the same time rather than emphasizing the rewards of any single thing. We're not giving any additional rewards for, say, doing a normal world quest while in a prey hunt. The efficiency there is that you can do both at the same time, and you are getting both the reward of a world quest, of a normal world quest, while also progressing an active prey hunt. We're also building 3 new world quests that are going to go in each zone to make sure that you always have enough world quests up at any time to really engender that sense of I'm going out and I'm interacting with the feature. In respect to the second part of that question,
Goat.
with the kind of how this impacts the open world and other players, our big kind of mandate for Prey was this is a feature grounded in the open world. Like, this is the world of Warcraft being a character front and center, and we really, you know, as wonderful as delves are, and as how compelling as that loop is, we really wanted to take player out of instances. There's not a single loading screen in any of the Prey feature. You are just in the open world end to end. We have a little bit of controls in the higher difficulties for some of the final boss fights. I can let Dylan talk about that more later, just to make sure that the challenge is commensurate with the reward, and that the skill expression is still possible for high skill players to really kind of demonstrate mastery of the system. But that being said, Prey is very much localized on the player. So if I'm doing a prey hunt, a nightmare prey hunt, and you are not in, you're not interacting with the feature whatsoever, and we're standing right next to each other, you should not experience any detrimental effects. Now, that being said, you can help me, you can jump on, you can tag the creature that's ambushing me. In higher difficulties, we're a little bit more restrictive into how much and how far you can take that assistance. But our general kind of idea here was to be multiplayer forward, keep the world open, but also make sure that if you don't want to touch the system at all, you're not getting, you know, you're not catching strays from the insane troll that's chasing, you know, someone who's standing 5 feet away from you.
I think that could be a great piece of content for people out in the world questing, and then suddenly they just happen upon somebody who's just fighting for their life in a duel, in a nightmare duel, and you can get this sort of arena sense where people can gather and watch people tussle it out. So that's great. I wanted to ask this, like, I guess my final Prey question: is there a plan for this to continue being relevant at max level? I know it was said in the Q&A that this is going to contribute partly to your weekly vault, and then as well, I guess the two-part to this is there anything else in Prey that you're super excited about or really want to communicate to the wider player base about the system that hasn't been touched on yet?
Thank you. Like, 2 great questions. For the first one, yes, this is designed very much as a max level feature. It's going to unlock when you hit max back in Silver Moon City.
Oh, so this isn't during questing
really
at all.
Kind of, once again, we'll be kind of pushing you to the hub. We'll be tutorializing the feature, and then after that point, we're saying, hey, if you like what you see, great, jump in. And if not, you know, you're welcome to go into delves, go into dungeons, however you want to play at the max level. Prey isn't really, you know, pulling you in any one direction. It will be warband unlocked, so we are currently kind of, you know, exploring the extent to which maybe normal mode can be open to leveling alts after the fact. There's a lot of tuning on the back end that we're kind of still figuring out what we want to look like, but it is very much a max level feature. In terms of actual gear affordance and reward, yes, it will contribute to the Outdoor Great Vault slot. We're looking right now at kind of awarding up to hero.
I'm keeping my mic muted because Reptar's chewing the
to get,
fuck
you know,
out of this
if
toy.
you are an outdoor player in the outdoor world, this should be a viable gearing route that
Do you hear it?
that complements instead of replacing the delve route. Like, the idea here is, I just did, you know, all of my bountiful
Here,
delve.
I'll pause this for a second. Can you hear that? Maybe you can't. He's just fucking going crazy on it.
I'm a little bit delved out. What if I did some world quests, but in a context that was challenging and kind of immersive in a way that maybe, you know, I would like, because I just spent the last 6 hours, you know, grinding T8 bountifuls or whatever. In so much as something that I'm excited about the feature, as an overlay system, it does make the world.
Is this not almost the same as Brawler's Guild, just outside in the world? I mean, I don't know. But there's some room to cook there. Brawler's Guild was very good. Like, if you're just out in the world and you see someone fighting a, like, really fucking hard version of this prey boss, and you can just, like, see that, but not participate in it, I mean, that would be cool as fuck.
Meaningfully different. The gameplay feel of the outdoor space changes so much with the prey system, and we are kind of leaning into some kind of emergent gameplay here. Like, we currently plan to have it, you know, you can do prey while in war mode. You can, like, there are so many crazy things that, you know, the ambush mechanic and all of the prey mechanics kind of create in terms of situations in the outdoor world. It really is, you know, it really feels like we're not, you know, second screening your world quests. You actually have to lock in and think about what you're doing in the middle of an expansion zone, and that just makes the whole world feel so much more alive.
You know what you need to do is put the prey system in mythic rating. So mid-boss, you're like,
oh yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
sorry, I got to go deal with this guy real quick. I'll be back to go and explode a mechanic on top of you guys in a few seconds.
That went very well. Yeah.
Perfect. Okay, that's great to hear a bunch of stuff about the prey system there. I want to now jump into more of the raid features and just raid discussions. So thanks for going through a lot of that, Noah, and obviously if there's anything you need to jump in as well.
Yeah, basically, Noah, sit back and nod, buddy. We're about to ask some endgame shit.
Go ahead. But Dylan, I think there's probably going to be a lot more of your remit now with the raiding stuff. So how do you expect guilds to actually schedule around 3 different raid tiers? Is there an expected clear speed? Do you expect people to deal with one raid before the release of another on the various difficulties?
I don't know if he actually... So he's a lead encounter designer. I don't know if he works primarily on dungeons. It sounded before like he was more dungeon related. I don't know if he does raid stuff.
Do you expect guilds will be extending
Sure he does.
on some bosses, like extending the lockout on some bosses while they're still progressing the other raids? So how is Cutting Edge going to work, Hall of Fame? I know this is like a heavy question, but I think it's some stuff that you can just like blast off maybe.
Sure. So I guess speaking to like the broadest audience, folks who are like very good at the game, playing into heroic, maybe they dabble in mythic, but not like the super high end where things kind of get crazy. The top half of some of the first stuff to release is going to feel a lot like some of the subsequent content for the first slate of raids.
Whoa, sorry. I kind of got lost in what he just said. What is subsequent content? Like the second raid, the hard raid?
Top half of some of the first stuff to release.
So the top half, so bosses, if you look at it through 7, like... Okay.
Is going to feel a lot like some of the subsequent content for the first slate of raids. I think as far as how we expect players to engage with it, like, it's going to be at everyone's own speed. I have definitely at different points played with groups that will go in and just kick stuff over, and we expect everything to be dead before the next stuff is out. I don't know that that's going to be reality for everybody, but it's not like an intentional tuning thing where it's like, we want to make this so nasty that people are not ready for the next one. Again, it's going to be...
Or the opposite.
Okay, no, that's great. Yeah, so it's not like... You're kind of leaving it up to the player, full free reign on choice and how they want to go through that. Okay, great.
And I want to just like call out too, a lot of it's story driven. It's a kind of a cool opportunity with us doing a couple of different locales and like having the story of the expansion unfold across different spaces with the different bosses to kill, as opposed to having it all in the same space. So it's going to be an interesting feel because it's just something we haven't done in a while, and I hope it feels novel and cool to players.
Yeah, I did definitely manage to see some spoilers in the Dungeon Journal for some of the upcoming bosses, so beware, viewers. Be careful on if you do too much delving into that. So we have a lot of spec and class changes coming in Midnight. They're changing, or you guys are changing how like healers are going to be working as well, and how damage is going to be going out. There's a lot of changes that are coming with how the specs are playing, and in many ways, they're being simplified. Is this going to be reflected in the raid content, Mythic Plus content, etc., where you're going to lean into maybe more advanced mechanics or allow you to just experiment with new mechanics that maybe we wouldn't previously have gotten
with a good question.
Really in-depth rotations and difficult to pull off like rotations and stuff?
Someone said in chat you could always watch on higher speed if you want to go faster. So I don't know if this is just me. I'm sure maybe some of you are like this too. It is completely incomprehensible to me to listen to anything ever, any podcast or YouTube video more than just regular speed. It's nonsense. Like it takes me so out of it. I like hearing people speak faster than a normal speaking cadence, like makes me want to fucking blow up. Like I hate it.
I think one of the best lenses for a question like this is just estimating cognitive load for players in each audience. And I think you can see as a direction we're trying to lessen some of the cognitive load across the game. I think the way that specs will play in 12 is something that I can't speak super elegantly to. That's not my full-time job. I would totally expect that if it follows how we're doing on the encounter side, we're looking to make things more clear and understandable in the game world so that you are reacting more to the behavior of your allies and the behavior of mobs as is visible in the combat space. I think in some cases that's going to feel like simplification, and in other cases it's going to be the same feel but presented in a better way, given another layer of attention to detail on this is what we're expecting you to do, you have or have not done it right, this is why you did die, and that sort of feel.
Yeah, so are you going to be experimenting with boss visuals, sound cues, that kind of thing? Kind of like Dimensius, right, where he lifts his arms up and you got to...
Great interviewer. He's listening. You know what I mean? Like, it's really easy sometimes as an interviewer to, like, have your next question lined up and it doesn't feel like you're a human. You're just, like, letting them speak and you're like, okay, thank you. Reads next question. He was just listening to what he said and fucking just instantly asked another follow-up question based on what he was just saying that he didn't have written down, I'm assuming ahead of time, or maybe he did, but he just mixed it really well. But just pay attention to that. Like 1 out of 10 interviews actually do this.
Did die, and that sort of feel.
Yeah, so are you going to be experimenting with boss visuals, sound cues, that kind of thing? Kind of like Dimensius, right, where he lifts his arms up and you got to be watching that while still fighting the rest of the boss, that kind of thing?
Yeah, and I mean, you could go back even to like Croesus, which was I forget.
Ooh, banger.
In Legion?
Raid. Yeah.
Yeah.
Smashing the bridge, right? Like this is one of the quintessential like encounter designers love it when you say look at the fist of the thing and then go to the other side. Doing that at like Stormwind scale with Dimensius was really sick. Anytime we can get players looking at the boss, at the beautiful art that our art teams help us with and we sort of bring to life through combat, like that's the best. So doing that with Dimensius was really sick. We want to do that as much as is possible. And there are some bosses where, yeah, we really have the time and space and the fantasy to do that. And then there are other bosses where we maybe need to be a little bit gamier, and we're kind of fine with a ratio there. I think that the key here is that, especially in a world where combat enhancing add-ons are going to be diminished, how are we as encounter designers responsible for portraying the information that we intend players to have, such that when they're engaging with the content, they know what's expected of them, and if they die, they know why they died.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so improvements in clarity and stuff when with the removal or diminishing of some of the add-ons. Yeah, I think a lot of people in general right now, obviously this it's a new experience for everyone, seeing the simplification of a lot of specs and classes, and I think a lot of people are looking at that with everything else remaining as it has been. But I guess encounter design is going to change to reflect that. We've seen people losing some, like, removal of some interrupts, removal of some defensive capabilities, more choice now with healers on what cooldowns they want to select for various encounters. Do you think that people need to see some of these encounters before they rush to like judge some of the class stuff? Because these things are in tandem, they are symbiotic, I think, in design. And I guess leading into that, is there going to be a bit of an overlap period where maybe mechanically things are a little bit more simple because you're giving people time to adjust to reduction in combat add-ons, different like complete overhauls on a lot of specs and that kind of thing? Or are you just going to jump straight in with some mean mechanics?
So I think maybe redefining what mean looks like is going to be an interesting choice, because we've discussed a lot of our approach for encounters in terms
I'm sorry,
of
man.
mechanics being strength-based.
I read the Kermit thing in chat, and I was like, these guys are stupid, and I initially thought you were talking about Cybear, and then I like closed my eyes and just pictured Kermit when he started talking, and it just fried me, bro.
Say that's throughput, gear optimization, etc.
It's pretty fucking
intellect-based,
funny.
which is like I give you a puzzle and you have to coordinate your way out of it as a group, and then dexterity-based, which is like I'm gonna shoot a bunch of swirls at your feet.
It's almost certainly his microphone, yeah.
And over the years, we've trended more and more toward that action gamey, dexterity-based gameplay. And it's partially because the intellect stuff is solved pretty well by add-ons. I think we're going to start to be able to do things where we give you a puzzle, and the way the puzzle itself gets harder or easier is how we can tune that encounter, because it's not just solved anymore by an add-on telling you, go here because you were picked for this. Instead, you will be picked for it, and we'll have to provide you the right amount of time to solve the puzzle as a group, but it won't just be something automatically playing matchmaker. So something which, let's say Fractalus from the recent raid, the weak auras going into that really solved a lot of the coordination puzzle, but in a world where the pieces are in play for you to sort of look at the state of the walls and determine between yourself and your allies where you want to go, is kind of a fun challenge to play out in
not on Fractalus specifically. Like, he's not, I hope he's not making the thing of like, you didn't actually need weak auras on this, you could actually just look at the walls and make decisions based on that. That would have been a fucking nightmare. Like, obviously we're talking about the version of Fractalus that exists when they know you can't create assignment weak auras or something.
the world on your voice chat and etc. That's kind of how I'm looking at it.
Yeah, okay. No, that's great to know. Do you feel so do you see an issue internally with there being I guess like a non-global raid release? Do you think that there's anything that needs to be solved there, or are you kind of happy with different regions having different release
Dylan's like, how the fuck are
timetables for raids?
That's not something I've got a great insight into.
Okay.
I wish I did. As a content person, I help make baddies to have players attack. That's it.
Okay. No, yeah, fair enough. I thought I'd just be cheeky and sneak that one in, maybe. So jumping into dungeons, because I know that we've got about 10 minutes left or so. So how happy are the Warcraft team with the reception of Mythic Plus in the War Within? There's been a lot of changes there. We had the resilient system come in. We've had a lot of reduction in affixes and I guess more consistent.
Ooh, I will listen to this. I was going to skip this. I think he might actually have an answer on that, because I was wondering who actually determines the like resilient versus like the key system. It actually might be some encounter people, because I don't think there's like a Mythic Plus team. There's a rewards team, but resilient isn't really have anything to do with rewards. So it's like it could actually be some Mythic Plus people. He might
displaying
actually know.
of affixes, like you have the Xalatath one each week. You can get used to that. Is there any plans to elevate or modify Mythic Plus in any significant way in Midnight, or are we going to have a lot of what we've had in the War Within?
So my understanding, I guess I should say first, we're pretty pleased with how Mythic Plus feels right now. I know playing it, like I'm pretty satisfied, so I am but one small sliver of the audience. I'm definitely not at the top end. As far as plans going forward, I think we're largely looking to improve on issues of clarity, on the way that it feels to pull trash, especially with abilities that go from this is trivial
Dude,
to
Noah hit a fat nod as soon as he said that. Look at
this
this.
is trash, issues of clarity on
Watch
the
this.
way that it feels to pull trash, especially with
Yes.
abilities that
Yes,
go from
goat.
this is trivial to this is the thing which is going to kill all of us. Beyond that, systemically, I think it's TBD, and I'm probably not best to speak on it, but as far as the actual construction of dungeons, which is a big focus of mine, I'm looking at how do we present a clear challenge with trash mobs.
We've already heard him say this. Fixing Mythic Plus random one-shot damage. Okay, maybe that's interesting.
more related. Okay, and I mean, you've said about being more related to the actual design of the dungeons and mobs and things. Do you have plans to look at random damage that isn't well telegraphed? You know, random shots, pot shot, these kinds of abilities, dynamite in Floodgate, where you as a player go, I was 100% HP, I was fine, and then what happened? Like, there was no real way for me to anticipate that, and a lot of people say get the weak aura, but I don't think that's a great solution, and then obviously in Midnight, that's probably going to be less of a solution available. So do you, are you going to be addressing any of that at all?
Very good laying that out. I mean, part of this is just, I mean, so he said in a previous interview that they wanted to like have packs be less, there's like less stuff going on, but also like mobs are very clearly going to do, there doesn't need to be as many casts, like actual casts. That's actually would be really helpful. Then maybe that will help. But some of it is a key scaling issue. Right, unless they don't want to have single target shadow bolts or whatever. Single target non-casted just damage to random people. Unless you just want that to not exist on any pack ever, that is something in infinite scaling that if multiple things pick you, you just get one shot, right? Maybe there's like some targeting preference, like you can't be targeted by more than one thing or something, I don't know.
Yeah, making things more telegraphed and inviting the counterplay, I think, is really important. And obviously, as you've said, like having a weak aura tell you about this invisible thing, which because of your key level has now become extremely deadly, like we have to make that thing visible. Part of how we're making stuff visible is maybe we're not doing less than we did before in Trash, but what we are doing is making every piece more aware of the real estate it's occupying. So when you pull 4 or 6 mobs, the number of cast bars in those pulls will be somewhat reduced by comparison to past experiences. But it's not because we've taken a ton of abilities out, it's because some things are just allowed to have their effect immediately. Instead of having a creature do a cast bar to buff itself, it just buffs itself, but the buff might be purgeable, right? Instead of having something where it's going to do a cast bar. And
that's actually a really good change. My only concern is people just pull bigger. Okay, we're making generally less things happen that need stops in a pull. Okay, cool. What's stopping us from pulling 5 more mobs then? And you kind of create the problem you need to solve, right? Like, if it's not challenging enough, you're just going to pull more. Although I could obviously challenge you via the tank will just die if you pull more, or there's still a amount of things happening, there's just less cast, right?
And it's going to apply a big dot. It just applies the dot, but the dot is dispellable. Things that sort of remove cast bars out of the space such that...
But that still doesn't really solve this, right? Like if you're pulling a bunch of mobs that on a really high key level that all put out a Shadow Word Pain, if you can't dispel 2 of them and it hits too hard and they're spread out, then like you need a mass dispel, or this problem exists infinitely if you just look at it from a different lens. You pull too many things that need a dispel, but only this healer can dispel them. Oh, we have Shadow Bolts, they're just not a cast, and they all targeted this person. If you do a high enough key and pull enough mobs, people are going to potentially get one shot. That's just like kind of how infinite scaling and just dungeons work, you know?
The creature that's casting the fireball that in a 6 is not a big deal, but in a 14 becomes a very big deal. Now that cast bar can stand out a little bit better. I know that's kind of maybe a subtle, like, inside baseball way to explain that kind of change, but I think for folks playing a lot of Mythic Plus, it will feel more obvious that, oh, the 2 things with cast bars in this pack are the things that have to get kicked. It is totally clear. That's the goal, and I'm certain that if something crops up where we've missed their feedback will let us know, and we can address it.
Yeah, great. I think so. This maybe doesn't cover encounter design per se, but what challenges do you face in designing some of these systems? As you mentioned, something that in a +6 doesn't really do much, but in a 14 kills you and becomes paramount to...
This is a fucking great person to ask this question to, because I bet he thinks about this all the time. Or what he might say is, we designed this this ability to make sense on whatever the highest thing that gives us rewards or a feat of strength will do, like a 12. And then anything past that, it's just going to infinitely scale, and if it's a huge problem, we'll nerf it. That's what I think is the case, but I bet they think about this a lot either way.
Deal with how are you, like, what challenges do you face trying to design a system that tailors to people who are just interested in gearing from Mythic Plus and those that are trying to push high end? Because to be honest, you get a lot of I'm in the high end Mythic Plus community, and you get a lot of people like, wow, we need to change this dungeon because on a 20 it's really tough. And I'm like, there are 4 of us that are doing this dungeon, it's like, how much is Blizzard gonna supply resources to something that doesn't affect that many people?
Amazing question.
Whereas at the lower end, it affects a lot of people. So what are the challenges in designing in these spaces?
The biggest challenge is making sure that the system is inviting at the lower end. It's kind of stressful trying to get groups. It's stressful once you get in, making sure that you're performing well enough that folks around you are feeling good and enjoying the content and the run. At the high end, I think you get into situations where people there are so smart and so organized and so in-depth that they're going to push themselves as close to the limit as possible. And as you start to do that, you're pushing the game to its limits in really impressive and creative and fun ways. At that point, there are things that we've done that maybe don't necessarily come from intent so much as players have revealed an interaction. There are some things that when we see it...
Yeah, like they're designing... Okay, maybe they'll pull these 2 packs together, so we'll worry about that on a 12. But then, like, the only way to time the 22 or whatever the fuck is to actually pull 3 of these things. And now, oh, well, I'm getting one shot because we're getting targeted by these spells. It's like, yeah, because you're pulling, like, half the instance at one time. And it's, like, scaled up as high as it can possibly go. Like, there is some of this that is truly unavoidable,
It's like, okay, yeah, that feels...
And if it isn't hard enough, you will just pull more until it is,
It's awful to ask people to do. We'd like to change that. But it turns out a lot of great Mythic Plus gameplay comes from just building a really solid dungeon up front, making sure that for folks who are learning by playing rather than learning by playing a ton and reading and studying, that they can play the experience, and then just sort of seeing what the best players in the world do when confronted with that scaled up mathematically to the nines,
Yeah, okay, great. I'll finish up quickly here on Dungeons so I can get onto a couple minutes on Delves, and then we'll wrap things up. Would you have anything to comment on in terms of amplifying Mythic Plus rewards? It does feel kind of crummy when you do time...
Yeah, not on the rewards
team. 100 gold, and you see your buddy over there got the best in slot trinket. Is there any plans to increase those rewards in any way?
Not really a rewards person, unfortunately.
Okay, so... yeah, sorry, trying to jump in on like stuff related to dungeons, but yeah, no, fair enough. I guess one last question then about dungeons is, Quick Shot in Floodgate is an ability that doesn't seem to target the same person twice, and that helps give people time to deal with that heavy hit. That seems like the only thing in the game that really works that way. Is that something that you've specifically coded, and is that a piece of technology that you will apply to other types of mobs where you won't get multi-targeted from different abilities? Or like, what's kind of the background on that?
It's one technique among many that we can use to mitigate that sort of alpha strike accidental, we hit you with 6 things at the same time problem. I think in general, as we are testing, we're looking for situations where something like that happens and we go, well, that sucked. And when that happens, either internally, hopefully before it goes live, or right after it goes live and we're playing on live, or we're hearing from players on live that a specific interaction is bad, we'll usually look to touch something.
Okay, cool.
Do people really complain that infinity scaling content eventually becomes too hard? Isn't that the whole point? I mean, I hopefully am not painting it in that's all it is like there's never any problems and it's always just that problem. But I mean, some people do that, yeah. Like, I think maybe one way to look at it is everyone is just out for their own self-interest, right? So if you are a player who only does extremely high keys, you are going to personally complain about things that happen to you in high keys that might happen to a very small amount of people, but it's what you care about because you are you, right? And then maybe those people have streams and a following on social media, and those things get amplified even though they maybe don't affect a ton of people. He kind of mentioned that earlier in this interview. But Dorky said earlier, who's like one of those people, and his chat is like entirely those people, right? Is he said, I don't think it's a problem if the best players are doing crazy pulls. The problem is a normal pull is fucked at the moment. There's just too much going on in any normal pull. Even though I believe it's been helped a little bit. Like, I believe earlier in the expansion it was a lot worse, and then they nerfed tank busters, and they have just been better with clarity and stuff like that. And I haven't seen the new dungeons yet. I actually kind of want to do that right after this. But yeah.
Yeah. Right. So jumping on to delves then. First of all, I just want to say thanks to you and the team for creating the Bran appearance toy, which has been haunting my raid nights since its conception. So with one,
you can ignore the rest of this interview. Okay. Great interview though. When's the maintenance? Tomorrow morning. Oh wait. That's next Tuesday. They're doing like some Giga thing. Cool. I'm gonna try to do the new dungeons with my followers. Next Tuesday is the 0.5. Oh, I see. Question: can I queue for follower dungeons at level 80? No, I need to hit 81. I am almost 81. Do we hit 81 this stream and then do dungeons, or do we do it another day? Let me see what my girlfriend's up to. Oh, my phone is deceased. Let me charge it. What are the dogs' names? Ella, Lily, and Reptar. They are dogs. Would you all like to show them that you're dogs? Come here, girl. Oh, hi, buddy. Yeah, he punched me in the face. That's fine. Hi, buddy. Hi. Hi there. So that's Reptar. And hi, Reptar. Can I say hi to the other two? This is Lily. She's also a dog. She's very sweet. Hello. Hi, Lillian. Hello. Hi, baby girl. Hi. And then Ella has a ghost that she's trying to show you. She's holding a ghost. Lily, back up. Let Ella say hi. You've had enough. Ella, come here. So this is Ella's ghost. It's kind of... Oh, she wants it. So this is Ella. Also a dog. But she's more interested in the ghost right now. That's it. Hello, Lily. Hello. Alright. Yeah, I'm gonna leave. I'm streaming tomorrow. I think I'm gonna try to do like a week or a conversation thing with some smart people. I don't know what time. Probably earlier in the day than today. I streamed really